When I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I grew older, I set aside childish ways. Corinthians 13:11. In the distant future, mankind has spread into the stars and found it is not alone. Within the cluster of planets known as the Silrain Heart, many races strive for survival or supremacy. But throughout this array of planets, societies, and cultures, each has one thing in common: the crucibles. Scattered throughout the galaxy, each moon-sized structure contains a core of raw sorin, a form of mysterious energy used to power ships, cities, and sometimes the warping of the fabric of reality itself. Beings who can do this have been given a name: Espers. The power of God has been granted to God's children. It is a time of terror. It is a time of wonder. It is the time of Esper Genesis.
The classic introduction from Trendane and Chronowolf and our dear departed friend Kilobyte. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Arvanauts. Welcome, everyone, to a Friday night stream. It is 9:15 p.m. Eastern. Welcome to day 55 of Esper Genesis, the concluding session today of Altai Media Presents, which is sponsored, as always, by Alligator Alley Entertainment. I hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving. For those of you in the United States, happy Thanksgiving. I hope everyone had a good one. For those of you not in the U.S., or for those of you who are not grateful for anything, sorry. I hope you had a good day anyway, and I hope you're looking forward to what I expect to be an awesome stream today with the amazing Esper crew. Before I get any further, just a couple of reminders about ways to support us here on the channel as we close in on the end of November. If you haven't already done so, please make sure to follow the channel. Please check out our YouTube channel with !ArvTube. !ArvCord is the Twitter. Yes. That's right. The Discord channel. I was literally looking at Nordwolf, noticing my episode 55 because I realized it was actually day 55, not day 56, and so I decided to combine those together. !ArvCord is not my Twitter. That is my Discord. Hence the term cord. So !ArvCord will allow you to sign up for my Discord server, which is always hopping these days and has a variety of channels and sub-servers for your various interests. And it's a good way to hang out with the Arvanauts in between between streams. Exclamation point Arv Tweets is my Twitter, where you can follow me over there, and I will always make sure to tweet when I'm going live, and I also talk over there about gaming and writing and sports and politics and streaming and teaching and, of course, family and, like occasional politics things over there as well. You can find all of that over there on my Twitter, and my website for all of this is arvineleron.com. On the financial side, you can always check us out and support us by checking out the shop, exclamation point Arv Shop. 22 patrons, $2.40 per month is the Patreon, which is exclamation point Arvtreon. Very excited about the possibilities for the future with the Patreon and the subsystem support as we continue to kind of move up in both of those categories. You can get cool stuff for yourself, also cool stuff for the channel, and when we get to a high enough level, we will be able to do things like have another Arvanaut Idol contest. We will be able to have things like we'll be able to have things in addition to that, like another talisman tournament and things of that sort. So there's cool things for the channel and also cool things individually for you as well. Last but certainly not least, we have got the sub button, which is sitting right there near the video window, that will allow you to sub to the channel, and that will give you both custom sub badges, which you get on this channel, and also will give you custom emotes, which you can use here, there, and everywhere across the Twitches. And depending on the tier that you support, you'll be able to get even cooler and cooler emoticons. Plus, also, of course, you get inspirations to help the players as well. Thank you, by the way, to Nordvol for subscribing before the stream started at Tier 2, the 2-year resub. I appreciate that very much, Nordvol. Seriously, that does make a difference. Thank you so much for the continued support, and thank you to all those who have supported us, both the Patreon and both the subsystem, and also those who have supported us by getting merchandise from the shop. So thank you for that. Lastly, on the publishing side, exclamation point Icarus is my Icarus graphic novel, recently released by Athos Arts. Got another 5-star review today, which was very exciting on Goodreads from a reader in Belgium. I was very excited about that. And again, more of these things are beginning to come through as things begin to build up, hopefully. And that's exciting because I have plans. We have plans for that series, and I'm very proud of it. So I hope that you will consider jumping on board and getting this tale of friendship and overthrowing tyranny and injustice and some magic, and even features a big lava-resistant dog, essentially, a creature called Rig. So if you like that and spectacular art and all that good stuff, please jump on board to support us there. And that's Icarus, exclamation point Library is Tales and Tomes from the Forbidden Library, my 5e adventure and source book from the aforementioned Alligator Alley Entertainment. More details to come on that, especially the print version, which is coming soon. And then we've got exclamation point Greyshade Chaos, which is my Greyshade Kickstarter that is going to be launching early February of 2021. Very excited about the potential for that as well, but I will talk more about that when we get into December and then on into January. Last but certainly not least, exclamation point BLM, Black Lives Matter. We continue to argue that Black Lives matter because it is significant that Black lives need to be particularly protected because at the moment they are being particularly singled out in a negative way. I saw a sign today driving around with Little Arv that said, at first I thought it was an All Lives Matter sign, and then I saw it was All Lives Matter, and then it said All Lives Matter, and then underneath, only when, in cursive, Black Lives Matter, which I thought was great because, of course, that's the reality. All lives can only matter if Black Lives Matter too. So please jump on board there for resources and various links and things of that information. And exclamation point Help Now will help you with information regarding suicide prevention. It is the World Health Organization Suicide Prevention Link, which has a lot of great resources that are internationally accessible, so it's not just a U.S.-centric thing, because this is a global problem, and this is something that we're trying to also raise awareness of as we go along. On the schedule front, we are closing out what was an extremely busy November, including a really awesome Soundclash the Clampdown fundraiser last week, so we are very grateful to all of those who supported us over there. I think in the end we're going to end up somewhere around $450 because we did have a donation or two that came in after the fact. So all of that was really awesome that people were able to support us. So thank you so much. And we will be, in fact, I've already started the process of reaching out to people on the video and music front for a awesome new intro, which is going to come as a result of that. And so we've had a very busy month, and we're coming to the end of it here. We're going to be playing Esper Genesis tonight. This is going to not quite wrap up our tabletop, but close. Tomorrow, Saturday night, will be the Patreon-fueled Chat Chosen Game of the Month, which is going to be Dragon Quest XI. I'm excited to give that a shot. Sunday, we'll be off, actually, for a change. And then on Monday, we will have our final stream of the month, and that will be Emberwind, which will be the last time any of you will have a chance to use inspirations. And the inspirations have gotten used up quite a bit between this campaign and between the others. You can see that we're down to a small fraction now of what we normally have. We've got one from Burner, one from Hillness, one from JLC. We've got two from Kilgore Trout. We have one from Nonstop. We've got one from Hoodie. We've got two from Nordwolf, who is in chat, one from Redlear, one from Tren, and those ones from Polar are not available because our Polar ones are the ones that we use for our channel inspiration points one. So we don't have a lot of inspirations left, and that's great. That's what I want. I love having those burned by the end of the month because that means that they're getting used and the people are into the games and all that. So that's all very good. So that's going to be wrapping up November, and then December is going to be a little more chill. There is going to be a lot of really cool stuff, including my annual family show and my end of the year show, my game of the year show that I always do. And of course, the Our Vocalists and A Christmas Carol, which is always a highlight. But it's going to be a little more chill, which is good because we're moving into, I have a couple weeks left to wrap up my semester with final grading. And then I have a little bit of writing I have to get done. And then I'm going to take a break, not from streaming, but I'm going to be taking a break from other things. I'm going to be doing some reading and playing video games and watching TV and just sort of doing nothing for a while. I need it. And then I'm going to be on sabbatical in the spring doing some research and obviously some streaming and stuff like that. So it's going to be great. And we have a couple more, weeks to go of all that. So with that said, the time has come to bring in the amazing and awesome players. And so I'm going to unmute myself with, again, apologies for anyone I may have interrupted in the process of speaking. And then I'm going to unmute them. And last but certainly not least, I'm going to head over to reveal, dun, 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 almost, not entirely, but almost the full crew. But we are missing one person. And the person that we're missing is first in the row. So I can just say that quickly and get him out of the way. I mean, say that quickly and be clear. But no, Johnny had a minor emergency situation. He's fine. Everything's okay. They're all fine there. Thanks. How are you? Everything is okay with him. But he is not able to join us today. Normally, he plays Aramis. He will be Jaegered, I think, by Zac today. And I'm sure that Zac will do just as good a job in not face tanking him as he did with Sleepwell, as we discussed in this last. You should have seen some of the GIFs going back and forth in the Discord channel when we found out that Zac might be doing this. Like some of the robot, like not quite Jaegering it properly. It was plus some I Love Lucy memes. It was pretty awesome. So, but anyway, so that'll be Zac's job. But normally Johnny plays Aramis, and he's an awesome dude, and you should all check out his stuff. I know that he's going back to start streaming again soon in the near future, so you should be ready for when that happens by following him. But he's not with us today. The people that are with us today are the other three intrepid adventurers, beginning with someone who may have some interesting information to gather, about what happened with a certain link to an AI and, having the AI rescue them in the middle of a populated region of this, and all that good stuff. It's going to be great. But that, of course, is Cat Rambo. Cat, again, happy belated Thanksgiving. And how are you? And how is the Pacific Northwest? And who are you playing?
I'm doing well. The Pacific Northwest remains very Pacific Northwesty,
Good.
wet and damp and mossy. And I am playing Petrus Sinus, an ashen forged. Is it ashen forged? Yes, ashen forged sentinel with a very large hammer and, as mentioned, a mysterious affinity for machines, which seems to have perhaps paid off last time, perhaps not, perhaps paid off and yet incurred dire consequences. We're just not sure.
We don't know, but we will soon find out. Yes, I'm very excited to see how all that gets played out. And actually, yeah, because one of the things that may get played out was the decisions that the party made that didn't automatically just lead to combat. Because I'm going to say something very quickly about that based on a Green Rune conversation we had in just a minute. But before that, I will just say it's wonderful to have Kat with us. And thank you so much, Kat, as always. And thanks, as always, to a gentleman who... I think it's very important to note that we're trying to do the best we can to brand on this channel. So I today will be repping Virgil's handcrafted root beer. Virgil's, if you see this, I'd like you to know that you are now sponsoring us. And for his case, Carlos is going to be repping IHOP. No, I'm just kidding. He's going to be repping Waffle House, because apparently he is the biggest fan of all recorded time of Waffle House. Now, I thought I liked Waffle House, but I did not realize... Because are you going to show the other thing?
You mean the
Carlos,
thing
like
in the chat that I'm putting in right now, the video of
no, that too, but there's another item of clothing.
So right. Hopefully you can see this with my stupid background and stuff, but I've got the Waffle House knee socks.
See that
Like
I
I am
forget
ready
they
for
were
Waffle
knee
House.
socks too.
Knee
Oh
socks.
my
They're knee
god.
socks. Yeah, look
To
at
be
the side
worn
of
with the
these.
official Waffle
Yeah.
House shorts.
Oh.
I am ready for Waffle House roller derby. Put me
Oh,
in, coach.
God.
Can you imagine Waffle House, some exec seeing this and being like, maybe we should sponsor this,
Yeah.
what do you call it? Esper
Sponsor.
Genesis.
Call-
It has
call
Genesis in the name. We support the Bible. Let's go. Like, let's make this happen.
Call me Waffle.
Yeah.
Like seriously.
Oh, God.
Oh, man. Well,
I
how
love
have you
me some
been,
Waffle
Carlos?
House.
How's life with you? And, who are you playing and why do you love Waffle House as much
Yeah,
as you do?
none of that matters. Here's more about Waffle House. When you go to Waffle House, get the pork chops. Everybody's scared of the pork chops, but the pork chops are the best pork chops you're gonna have for under $10. Like seriously, like they were so good. They're ridiculous. When I go to Waffle House, whatever I'm getting, there's like a double side of pork chops coming also. The best way to do the hash browns is scattered and smothered. You don't need any of that other stuff. The cheese doesn't work out very well. So scattered, smothered. That's what you want. The waffle's very good. It's humongous though, so bring an appetite. Today I'm playing Ludicrous Sleepwell, and Ludicrous Sleepwell loves Waffle House.
Brought to you by Waffle House. We're just gonna keep doing all this branding. I'm waiting to see if that. Yeah, every time it's got to be like Kaz always does this. Blah, blah, when it was, or I guess it's Zach as Kaz's voice doing this. Always the blah 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 Waffle House. Like we just need it every time that comes out. We just pop up. The pork chops are made of waffles. That would explain a lot, actually, Nordwolf. That would explain a
Pork
lot.
chops are made of deliciousness. I am telling you, they are great.
Mark
my words.
I would not have been what I would have imagined. Anyway,
So in the chat, I put one of the things that makes Waffle House so great is they have a jukebox full of their own music. They hired all of these people to do knockoffs of different performers. They have like a Beat It kind of sound like one, and Steve Colbert has a song on there that he wrote for Waffle House. But the best one is the one I put in the chat, which is called Special Lady Waiting for Me at the Waffle House.
And I can confirm that it exists as a song. And we were just like, well, the funny thing was so Carlos was talking to us. We started talking about Waffle House for some reason. And he's like, all right, let me go check it. And he's like, hold on. And he goes and he gets these items of clothing, comes back. And Zach is like, oh, I didn't think he was telling the truth. I'm like, do you know Carlos? Of course he has a shirt. Now the knee socks, that is an extra beyond. That is Sal and Gabby fixes the universe like DLC. Like that's what that is. But like,
Quest for the Waffle House socks.
DLS, downloadable sock. Anyway, it is always a pleasure to have Carlos with us, and the delightful sense of humor. I love it. But always a pleasure to have Carlos with us, and also a pleasure to have the aforementioned Zac Clay with us, who apparently knows nothing of anything before 1995. Like I've concluded that anything we were just like Alanis Morissette. He's like Lannister. Like I mean, yeah, but like. There is this thing called history that you could look back a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm not citing obscure Leave It to Beaver things that are 20 years before my time, but I've heard of them. Like, I heard. Anyway, no, Zach does not know. So Zach is our touchstone for, but also doesn't want to know Snapchat really. So Zach's in this strange, like, where are you, Zach? Like 97 to like, what's your sweet spot for cultural knowledge? Like, would you say?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I would say, in 1997, I was 0 years old. So maybe bump that up a bit. But
so like what, 2003?
Yeah, 2003 to, I'd say like,
2005?
About the year I graduated high school, 2015. How about that?
2015. So you went, but you, all right. So you have like what, 3-4 years of, and then it all starts going downhill. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
That
So you
sounds
like
good.
have all of Friends memorized, and that's it.
Yeah, sure.
Can I just say, by the way, how troubling it is that you turned 6 years old the first year I began teaching at St. John's. This is deeply troubling to me.
Yep.
That this is what we're talking.
And then
Exactly,
now I'm
Kat.
on your show.
I know. Who knows what else will wait? Like God. When I'm 85, there'll be people joining me who are like, I remember when I watched Esper Genesis, and oh my God. Anyway, Zach, how are you doing? How's life on the left coast? And who are you playing today?
I'm doing great. We had a very humble Thanksgiving yesterday. My mother is master of ceremonies, of course, for Thanksgiving. So prepared everything from our grandmother's infamous crack corn, which is just sweet corn that tastes so good that you get addicted to it, pumpkin bread, turkey, cranberry sauce, everything homemade, of course, including the turkey. We just made a turkey. And yeah, it was great. Nice and calming. Although we were kind of talking in the green room, it can be a little overwhelming. Just Thanksgiving could be this whole ordeal when sometimes you just want to chill.
Yeah.
I was totally there with you. Having to be, you're sitting there with the family for hours on end. You're just like, I'm good. I'm an introvert. I'm good. But yeah, aside from that, I'm going to be running D&D for my old students this weekend, which should be very fun, and ramping up other sorts of content, just trying to stay alive also. It's important in this year. And yeah, I'm doing great. And tonight I'm playing 2 characters.
Not one, but 2.
Cosmeritis, the Bellari hunter and specialist, with a very large sniper, and Aramis, the Ashen Forged Melder, level 8, with a very large inflatable bed.
Very large inflatable bed. Fundamentally important, let us say, inflatable
Saved
bed.
our bacon.
That was critical. It is always a pleasure to have Zac with us as well.
Of course.
Really, genuinely one of the good guys in this business, and very talented and awesome guy. And despite being born the year that I started teaching at St. John's, that's not true. Being 6 when I turned St. John's. You're not that young. Despite that, really awesome dude and good friend. So thank you, Zac. Always a pleasure to have you with us, and also a pleasure to have this amazing crew. And let us get into it, folks. As I choke, and then as I'm choking, I could also fire up some music because that's how I like to roll. Man, don't have a walnut energy bite just before starting to explain what happened in the last session, because apparently it'll choke you up. I got choked up just going through it and playing it the first time.
It was an emotional session.
It really was. And let's talk a little bit about it. So in our last session, and let me fire up, I think, let's go with weirder things. In our last session, we had a lot of stuff that went down. The party, the crew, had come to the Bastion, a location, location here that was an enormous, essentially, space station, and had gone to the entertainment district of this place to find out some information that they had been sent to find from a massive media corporation known as Altai Media. The reason that they were coming there was to clear their name, because although they had managed to save Bliss Larkham, a sim reality star, and had managed to thwart the plans of her manager, Merrick, they ended up finding that when they did that, they ended up being instead, although they did save her, framed for her kidnapping and for the apparent murder while he was in captivity, while he was in confinement of that same manager. And so the party managed to make their way down with a lot of sort of loose ends that they're dealing with at the same time. For one thing, Petra's connection to AI. Why exactly has she had this sort of mysterious connection? What exactly is it about her past that allows her to make this connection to especially the artificial intelligence, apparently, of the Hyperlance? For Sleepwell, what was it that was going on with his father, who apparently had been brought into this organization somehow, into the shadow technocracy, which apparently is very, very angry at the party, since the party has done a whole lot to undercut their various machinations within the Silrain arc. And of course, the presence of his sister, who came to visit him and basically talked to him a little bit about the things that she had discovered there. And what, of course, on top of that, were we going to do about Aramis, who had learned some terrible details about his past, but also about how he himself might have not has been as terrible as he thought he might be. And so all of that remains in doubt. And Cosmeritis, who has found within his suit that he now possesses one half apparently, in quotes, the good half of what is left of the Long Winter, a dangerous nano-cybervirus which threatens to overwhelm all of the Silrain arc. Its other half, the psychopathic and sociopathic and every other kind of pathic one, is out there and apparently is also seeking out the party and seeking out what is left of itself in a desperate desire, apparently, to destroy itself and everyone with it. And so the party has got a lot of issues, is what I'm saying, that they're trying to deal with. And the party, with all of this information, knowing that they needed to clear their name, went on the recommendation of one Fel Omric, who turned out to be the brother of the main security guard here in the Bastion, of information that would be available to them on the 79th floor of the Altai Media building. The party went there, managed to infiltrate below that floor, then travel up to the 80th floor, which provides the only access to the 79th floor, managed to defeat some security guards, override a laser hallway, which would have been very deadly, use Sleepwell to get rid of the rest of the lasers with his face. I'm just kidding, that didn't really happen. And then ended up entering the final large room, which you actually see on the screen at the moment, where they discovered not only some heavily armed guards, but also two, in particular, characters that were new for the first time, characters that they had heard maybe something about, or I should say seen something about, but didn't know exactly who they were. The characters here were Mavalian and Leanne, his niece. Mavalian, who, as it turned out, was a researcher who had been kept there supposedly to develop uses for the Zephyr code, which is this code that is apparently going to be used to create problems, basically building upon what was originally the Long Winter code, and was the organization that was doing this, that was forcing him to do this, was the rogue branch of Zephyr Corps known as Stormdark, run by Laris Baladin, who was responsible for coding a lot of the original Long Winter, and who has become kind of an enemy in the background for the party as well. So, gathering all this information together, Melvalian had been found out about this, was against the use of his research, but was being forced to behave because of the existence of what apparently everybody thought was actually his 11-year-old niece. After revealing this information and defeating the guards, what they ended up discovering was that his niece, who took Mavalian by the face and threw him out of a plate glass window before turning into a Terminator 2-style robot, like that Leanne was actually some advanced something. We'll talk about what exactly that something might be. That was extremely deadly and was very dangerous, and it was not easy for the crew to be able to defeat this creature. It was, in fact, knocking Petra down repeatedly by slamming Petra into the floor, and while Petra was taking that damage, everyone else was trying to do what they could to defeat them. Fortunately, the crew was equal to the task, and with some careful use of that, and yet again another saving use of dimensional space, which is the gift that keeps on giving from Kaz, the party managed to escape into the dimensional rift, and once the floor had been blown up, which is basically what happened, they were able to drop onto the 79th floor with the use of Aramis's extremely valuable inflatable mattress, which we all knew was going to be that extremely valuable, landed on top of the mattress, and then found that they had landed in the middle of what appeared to be some kind of launch, a launch of drones specifically. They were on the terminal room, the 79th floor of this building, and on the 79th floor, they found there were a bunch of machine parts and tools, computer screens, panels, terminals, and 10 sleek drone-like vehicles which were mounted to a torpedo-style launching ramp. One of the terminals contained some folder with files. One of the terminals consisted of a cutaway diagram of all of these 10 drones, showing them in various stages of readiness for departure. And one terminal showed a video which was a, in quotes, confession of two characters, and I believe it was Petra and Sleepwell, if I'm not mistaken, who were talking to each other about how they had blown up the building and done all these terrible things, and how they had kidnapped and murdered Bliss Larkham and all this stuff. Obviously, Petra and Sleepwell never had this conversation. This whole thing is a deep fake, but according to the terminals, the drones were about to launch and apparently spread this information to all of the Bastion and indeed the Silrain Arc. But thanks to some careful mechanical intervention by Sleepwell, a little bit of tack work, I think, by Kaz, maybe, I believe, while Aramis was working on downloading stuff from that last terminal on the right, and in particular, thanks to Petra's intervention, the drone's launch was thwarted because Petra was able to tap into the AI. The terminal there was able to tap into apparently the Hyperlance's AI and asked for help. The Hyperlance came, actually flew into what is quite obviously restricted space, completely illegally, totally wrong, not supposed to do any of this, and essentially wiped out the drones as they were launching, in the process leaving the 79th floor covered with smoke and dust and debris. And as we give things back over to the party, we can see the Hyperlance, which is hovering right outside, basically, essentially hovering right outside the 79th floor, or what is left of it. We see the smoke still swirling and billowing, and somewhere in the building, you begin to hear a whoop, 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 alarm going off. And the reason you can hear it is because Petra and Sleepwell and Kaz are in fact not dead. You were in fact just covered by smoke. And so I'm going to hand things over to the party. You're all there, you're all covered in smoke, but you're alive and apparently more or less unhurt, or at least no more hurt than you were. And you can see the Hyperlance just hovering as the sort of smoke swirls around you. Every so often you see it hovering there. What would you like to do?
I just have a quick question. So basically, there is no 80th floor anymore, right?
Nope.
Right?
No 80th
There's
floor.
no like 79th floor, right?
No,
So
there's
now-
no. There is a 79th floor. It's now damaged badly, but it's still around.
Right, and so basically the smoke alarm is going off because
That's basically it. Yes, exactly.
Beep, beep, beep. It's okay. So
It's a car alarm.
Yeah.
It's your car that you left on the down below is going on.
right.
So anyway, what would the party like to do?
So I'm just trying to remember from last time. Did we know that Petra was doing this? Did like someone shout to her to do this, or did she do it on her own?
Petra did it on her own, but she did yell out something to the effect of "hold on" or something, because the Hyperlance had warned her that if it came to help, that there's a chance that you could all get hurt. And now you see why, because to be clear, a starship firing into a building is not what the starship's designed to do, and so yeah.
Right.
But, so you didn't know that she was going to do it necessarily, but you did hear her yell, and you could probably, I imagine, Sleepwell, have seen her at the terminal maybe for a second before you had to do whatever you decided to do. So
Right. So I'm basically going to run to every member of the party and make sure everybody is okay. Just, do my surgery duty here and see if everybody, escaped wounds and stuff.
okay. No one seems to be extra hurt. I will say just quickly that Aramis and Kaz and Petra don't have any extra hurt in question. Petra, I will say that the terminal that you were, that you had connection with now seems to be dead. It may have shorted out. In fact, you don't see any electricity working elsewhere. Same thing for you, Kaz, as you're looking up at those terminals. Those terminals all seem to be dead now also. And there's a lot of flickering and sizzling coming from various, places around you, machines of various types and things like that.
So Petra's the last person I go up to, but Petra, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just, when you go out, Petra seems visibly sort of dazed. She didn't expect this to work and is still kind of trying to figure out what it means that it did.
Yeah, so I go up to you and I can kind of see that you have this, nonplussed look on your face, and I come and say, hey, Petra. Hey, you okay? Hi.
Oh, sleep well. Yes.
So, I kind of
Wow.
gently move your body so that you can kind of look up and see that the Hyperlance is just kind of hovering a few feet above us here.
By the way, really quietly, given its proximity, and that obviously is because it's the Hyperlance and that's what it's designed to do, but most ships that are a decent size would be just deafening, at this range.
Right.
But it's not making much noise because Hyperlance.
So, did you do this? I said.
I didn't do it. I asked the Hyperlance to do it. I didn't think it would, but It did.
So at this point, I'm kind of calling Kaz and Aramis over, just like, come on, team huddle. we need to talk fast here.
After Aramis recovers from this rather sudden explosion, he immediately checks to see if the inflatable bed is still okay.
That's a good question.
I'm expecting it to be improved.
He, of course, shielded it with his body.
Right.
So it ought to be.
Yeah, you lost like 60 points, but the mattress is still. Fortunately, the ripstop Nyla plastisteel that this mattress is made of, plus the fact that it was dialed to a softer sleep number, thereby allowing it to has preserved it basically for later use. Yes.
Yeah, this is really good. It must have been made by the Waffle House Corporation.
Yep.
Waffle House Corporation.
Aramis gathers, deflates, folds, and gathers the inflatable bed and returns to the group. Kaz, recovering from the smoke and everything drifting around, before he returns to the group is good. His head was already sort of on a swivel. He's going to look to see if there's any trace of where Bliss Larkham is or went, or that whole tie-in to this.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so
a little bit too late now, but
well, no, I was gonna. Yes, you find a couple of bodies where you think there used to be people. No, the one good advantage of the situation you're facing is that once the smoke clears, there aren't a lot of dividers left on this floor. I mean, it's pretty open now. And so that means that you've got a little bit more sort of available to you. I guess I will have you make... Well, I guess the question is going to be how long you want to take to do this search, because it's right now you've got not many things in the way of seeing other things, but because there is the smoke, you do have to kind of physically traverse this floor a little bit. And so the question is how long you want to take to do that, which is not telling you not to do it. It's just I need to know because it'll have an effect on.
So with that extra bit of observation, Kaz would then stay where he is and then turns to the rest of the group as they're gathering, and he says, "We need to get out of here, but where's Bliss?"
Yeah, where is Bliss? How do we... So I'm looking around too, noticing, what you just described.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, we are going to be invaded. Options?
Kaz will go ahead and start looking around, like you said.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me have you make... Is everybody doing that?
Yeah.
Okay. So then let me have everybody make an investigation check for me, please. I think this is, in fact, investigation. Seems reasonable.
Sorry, it's just... Of course, everything decides to explode here, so
Yeah,
reloading.
mine too.
That's totally fine.
Okay.
A mighty 9.
Okay. I will wait to see the
A
other
mighty
results.
4!
Okay.
I rolled 20, spazzed out, so give me a second.
I think Sleepo's just like smoke
exactly. I'm just cleaning myself. Yeah, I'm
Oh,
looking. I'm looking.
She's not on my left paw. She's not on my right paw.
12.
12. Okay, and
Did I have
Aramis?
And Aramis rolls a 99.
75. Yeah, exactly.
Let me get his sheets. Aramis.
And don't forget to roll for the mattress.
Of course. 13.
13. Okay.
The best of it.
Yeah, I would. I've actually. Yeah. So I think that I don't. I mean, so yeah, Sleepwell and Petra, you're mostly trying to fight through this smoke, and that doesn't mean that you couldn't eventually find it, because the smoke will eventually clear. It's just not within the time frame that you all want to take, which is not forever. And so I would say that Kaz and definitely Aramis, are able to, by just sort of feeling around and moving quickly, and Kaz may be a little bit less affected in any case by the smoke, but as you're moving around through it, it seems clear to you probably two things. One, this was a floor where terminals were, right? This was a server floor. This was a tech floor. You don't know that there are any obvious walls or anything like that that would have suggested that there was a room that would have contained a person. So not only are you fairly confident that Bliss is not here, you don't know how Bliss could ever have been here unless she was just tied up and like next to a server somewhere, which is possible, in which case she's been vaporized. But you don't see any sign of any of that. It may just be that well, you don't know what it means, but you do not see any obvious example of hostages here. The only hostages you found were on the floor above you, the now non-existent floor, where you found Novalia and then Leon. Yeah.
Looks like no trace of her.
So then, did we get bad information? I knew we shouldn't have trusted that guy.
I don't. Was she here? Like, I don't see how she could have been here.
I don't see how either. I mean, we stopped the conspiracy against us, but and then Kaz like turns and looks at the side of the building just erupted open by the Hyperlance, our ship, just in the side of it. Not sure if that helps. But hey,
I'm not laughing in character.
We needed to get out of here anyway.
Yeah. Beep beep beep. Smoke alarm.
So
I think we should get out of here.
I guess we just gotta go.
Yeah.
In the Hyperlance, and now you can see that Sleep was having one of his bad ideas. In the Hyperlance, we'll have a lot more options, i.e., firepower, i.e., more than anything else around here. It's like what can we ram the, he can even hear himself having bad ideas, but he's like trying to think of it. He's like, can we like ram in and kind of so this is what he's doing. He's just trying to think of terrible ideas.
Kaz will look around. Is there any remaining terminal to put, for example, a decrypting chip into?
Yes, I was trying to think actually about whether you had started to do that already. I want to say that I wasn't sure if you had. I know you were looking at the terminal where you were downloading those files.
I
think Aramis was doing that.
Oh, that's right. Black Hat. He used Black Hat last time.
And was using that with the decryption chip. So I would say that he has already done that. Now, it's a good thing you mentioned this, though, Kaz, because you need to take the chip out. The terminal is not functional, but the chip is not damaged, apparently. I mean, at least it's not physically damaged. So who knows what happened to the chip inside, but at least when you pull it out, it seems to be relatively robustly protected.
Yeah, Kaz will grab that, because I just remembered I was looking through our notes about this heist that we were doing, and we received a decryption chip that gives us access to Stormdark's control hub.
Yep.
So I think that this might be our answer. Okay. But we just gotta look at what's on it. So I guess we can scram.
And so we're like, okay, scram we go, but we gotta find that dude who like set us up for this like bad info. For,
Although, well, let's get on the ship and see how bad things are.
Okay.
Yeah, let's get back to the ship.
How do you want to try to do that? Because it's hovering there.
Is it close enough to just like? Can a ramp like come out?
It could. I'm wondering how you're going to communicate with it. Do you want to like wave? Like.
Oh.
I mean, sure, we'll wave. I mean, I'll try that first.
Petra, can you unlock the car?
I can try. I don't know if I can reach it at the moment.
Well,
but
you were able to reach it to get here. I imagine.
Well. So I'll go back over to that terminal, but isn't that terminal
dead?
It's dead.
Yeah.
Can you like communicate like mind power?
Some force-like ability that connects all of us?
Magic or something? What the hell? But I'll stand there with my hand out. And
Yeah,
try
he just
to,
did that. Da, da, da. Oh, baby Petra is so adorable. It's the whole reason for this show to exist. So
You're gonna get a hammer upside your head, dude.
use the mattress like a bridge. There you go. Yeah, that's what we do. Well, so when you walk up, I mean, I know you're not actually holding your hand exactly, but if you walk up close to it, Petra, and I guess you are going to try to do some connecting with it somehow.
Yeah.
It may just be also because of that or Sleepwell's furious waving. But as you sort of move up to the edge, and you can feel the wind whistling from above, there's the smell of burnt circuits and electric, all this kind of stuff, metal and so forth all around you. And yet as the smoke kind of swirls, you can see as you are walking, as you're sort of making this connection, and Sleepwell is jumping up and down, waving, suddenly the door opens and the Hyperlance pulls. Now again, the Hyperlance is not a dreadnought-sized ship, but it's a ship. I mean, and so it's sleek and awesome looking, but it's still a ship. And so it literally pulls up, still somewhat quietly, with the ramp open and hovers probably, I would say, 3 to 4 feet from the edge of the building. And the door, the airlock is now open.
Well, I think that's our ride, ladies and gentlemen, or gentlemen. I'm not sure if these are ladies, but I think run and start and jump for it.
Let's be safer than that. So I'm looking at Kaz with his grapple gun and
I was just
give a bro a lift.
same thing. And Kaz will, just to be safe, if there's some sort of pipe that's involved on the inside, will grapple the inside of the Hyperlance to act as a support rope.
Okay, you do that. The rope kind of, tightens and releases rather alarmingly, but still. Okay, you do that.
All right, you guys go first. I got the grapple, so.
I go first.
Okay. I think with the grapple there, just going having the wire to steady you, I don't think you need to make a check for this. You're able to get over pretty safely, Sleepwell, without too much difficulty.
Yay!
Aramis goes with his inflatable bed under one arm.
Okay. Holding the now deflated though, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Deflated,
it's in like a sleeping bag configuration.
Yeah.
Like
right next to his portable stove. So he is also able to make it over without any difficulty, and that leaves Petra and Kaz on this side.
Well, I will go if that works.
Yep.
Okay, and again, no difficulty with the grapple gun there. Now, last thing is we do, Kaz. Now, you are, if you're going to take the gun with you, which I assume you want to do, you probably will have to be the one who doesn't get the grapple gun benefit if you're not going to leave it behind, if you follow what I mean.
Sure.
Because you had to fire in the other direction, so you'd have to leave the gun behind, or you'd have to take it with you, release it, if you follow what I mean, and then jump onto the thing.
Is there a way to rapidly spool myself towards, pull the
Yes, actually, sure. It's not designed for that, but sure.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll do that. I'm going to have you make a very easy dexterity check just to avoid basically ramming into the side of the ship as you're doing this.
Lovely.
But
I love this opportunity for failure. It
it energizes
you.
you.
Acrobatics or just dexterity?
Acrobatics is fine. I'll take that.
Okay. 19.
Oh yeah, you just parkour over there, like no problem.
Hardcore.
You land singing songs from Cirque du Soleil. It's no problem at all. And then you're able to, having done that, pull the gun. And then for those of you who have played Mass Effect 2, you'll know what I mean about this. The end of the game where the door is closing as the Normandy is, heading off. That's pretty much exactly what we see with the Hyperlance. As you are now back inside the Hyperlance. Now, inside the Hyperlance, let me bring you all over to there. There we go. Inside the Hyperlance, you find a few things. I'm going to move you all for a moment, and then you'll have control over your own characters again. Let me move you right. Oh, sorry. Here. There we go. And I'm going to move this because this is not there. I'm going to move that there. And the drone is not there because your drone is sort of not appearing in this picture at the moment, Sleepwell.
Do we still have a cat on this ship? Didn't we have a cat at one
I think we had a dog.
We had a dog. That's
You had a dog, yes. Kind of. That's sort of a robot dog, if I'm not
That's right,
mistaken.
it was a
That the
robo-dog.
one. Yep, absolutely. And in fact, let me just double check quickly. I want to see if I actually.
I
have
don't know
notes.
why I suddenly felt moved to ask.
Oh,
you.
listen,
I
it's
don't
always
know.
a good time to ask about
The only
dogs.
robo dog I remember is the one shopkeep that I don't even know if Sleepwell was around for this one. The one shopkeeper who had a poodle that shot lasers out of its eyes or something.
Right, but there was a
That's all I remember.
That's right, but there was a dog called
Sparky.
not Sparky. Actually, wait a minute. Actually, I wonder. That's the name of it was Sparky.
I think it.
I don't
it might have
remember.
been.
I think it might have been
Let
Sparky.
me look in my notes.
I mean, Aramis has
Sprocket.
spots.
Brian's saying it was Sprocket.
Yeah.
It was
Brian
Sprocket.
likes
Oh,
Sprocket.
hey,
It was
Alligator Alley Brian Dalrymple from
course, the
sponsoring
one.
us.
Hey,
Hey, what's up,
Brian.
Brian? Good to see you,
Hey,
man.
Brian.
Sprocket. That's right.
Sprocket.
Where
Yes.
did we get Sprocket from?
So Sprocket, I believe, was I think you actually picked up Sprocket when you were on one of the stations. It might have been Pelseros, not Peltiveria, but I believe you picked that up, and it was basically just a kind of a mascot of the team. It's not like a companion like Spot is for Aramis, but so yes, I would say that Sprocket comes zipping up and barking happily and robotically. But also, the other people that you have in here are also, I think you left Spindra behind, but you have to forgive me because it's been a little while since we've been back to the ship.
Same.
But it's
I believe Rona is with
Rona.
us.
That's who it was. Yes, thank you. Yep. So Rona is here on the ship as well. Plus, of course, you've got your usual small little crew. That's down in the engine room, presumably. But as you get on here, you get this sound of, the intercom turning on, and then, Ksh! Hey, is that you? Get up here! It's Rona, who's basically yelling at all of you from the bridge, presumably, to get onto this place.
Well,
To the
let's
bridge
on
we
to the
go.
bridge. That doesn't
Boom.
the
Yeah.
first place you go, no matter what.
Okay, so when you get to the bridge, you can see that Rona is indeed in one of her accustomed spots, but she looks not pleased. And as you all sort of enter, she turns to face you and stands, and she has her helmet off, and she has her face is this expression that's a combination of annoyance and bewilderment and big, to jump out of game, 2020 vibes. She just kind of is like, shrugs, and she says, I don't, the ship, it just went on its own. I didn't do this. We were just in dock, and then all of a sudden the ship just takes off, and I'm trying to countermand it, and it keeps saying locked out, not valid, and then all of a sudden it just flies here. What are we doing here? This is not, this isn't permitted. Why do we blow up a building? What is going on?
It's my fault, Rona. I asked the Hyperlance for help out of the situation that we were in, and
You asked
so
it for
I wasn't
help.
Sure what would happen?
How did you, what? How,
I just, sometimes you just kind of roll with things, Rona. Just sometimes roll with it.
and she kind of just looks sort of bewildered, and then she says, all right, anyway, we've got to get out of here. The comms are blowing up all over the place. They want to know what's going on, why this ship exists, there's just things happening, and and she just seems not beside herself, but kind of like, and indeed you can see that there are a bunch of on one of the vid screens in front, you can see that the reflects, first of all, the one vid screen is just basically clear, so it shows the front of the ship looking down at this destroyed building. But the second thing is you can see a bunch of blips on the sort of scanner, which suggest that those are other ships that maybe are heading this way, probably much smaller ones, but it looks like some people have taken notice of this ship flying into the middle of an area that's not in space inside it.
So I say, before we head out, we actually haven't found Bliss Larkham, who's the key to all of this, and there's something weird afoot. Can we cloak?
And she says, I think so, but I don't know how much power it's going to use or what power reserve's been built up. We can try.
Let's try to buy us a little more time. We have a chip that we need to analyze to figure out what's on it.
Let's just look at the power reserves and ascertain their level first before we blow them out. So I'm going to look over and look at the power levels.
Okay, so it looks like right now the power reserves are floating at about 90%. Probably they've been, because it's been sitting in the dock and, hasn't been using much. So it seems fairly well stocked at the moment from what you can tell.
Okay, that's fine. I just didn't want us blowing things out.
5% left. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Oz will,
Good idea.
or whatever they're going to do. Kaz, meanwhile, is stepping up to the helm, and he's going to plug in this chip to try to read what's on it.
Okay. So the ship, I want to just make one quick note, and then we'll get to the decrypt thing. So as you're stepping forward, you can see that the scanner, there's more and more of these dots, and then the vid screen flashes to a side shot where you can see there are a bunch of them, these small, what look like, almost like, I don't know, again, I keep jumping out of game today, but the Cloud City, ships that are those dual things, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
But they're these are just singles of that, though, basically. So a single one of these pods with jets in the back. And they are flying along, and you can see there's a number of them. And then you can see the dots are coming, and then the vid screen shows these things coming, and then basically it looks like they're going to hit, and then they just fly right overhead. And you hear sort of chatter like, and then you see Rona kind of goes over and tries to fiddle with a few knobs, and then I don't know where the Frellet went. I'm telling you, it was right there. It's nothing there on the sensors. I don't see anything. Then you explain to me why there's 2 floors of a building missing. Maybe it did have an accident. It was the server room for them. That's what it looks like, a server room. There was a ship that took off. What happened to the ship? I don't know. So there's an argument going on back and forth. And it's very obvious that they do not see the Hyperlance, which is floating, again, not that far from the building.
Let's get out of here while they're arguing.
We want to find Bliss Larkham. We can't leave until we know for sure. And then I kind of look over to Kaz, like, how's it going, man?
Okay, the decrypt thing.
You can only plug this thing in once. I wish I could, get it to work faster.
Yeah.
Plug it in again.
Plug it in again.
And do it better.
So when you plug in the decrypt key, while this is going on, at first the terminal just kind of flashes black, and for a minute you wonder if there's something wrong, and then it flashes again, and then you see the same image that you saw on the 79th floor on that terminal all the way to the right, which is this, like a tree basically of folders. But then you can see that the letters and numbers begin to shift and interpose. And pretty soon you can see that they are they're turning into something more discernible and more readable. And you begin to look at more of what these mean. And it looks like, from what you can tell, these are all various folders that essentially seem to suggest payments from one place to the other. And those payments come from different sources to other different sources. But there is also a folder which describes some of the recipients of those payments. And those are extremely interesting, because what you are able to find as you're looking at those folders is that the sort of list of people that are on the sort of payroll, that there are a couple of people that are recipients of this that include names like Laris Baladin. That's probably not a surprise. But that there are other names that are listed there as well. Most of the names you don't actually recognize, but you see one case where there is the name of Arecia Angel, who you were all familiar with, except that Arecia Angel's name has been blacked out. You don't know what that means, but it looks like in other words, it's crossed out, so you can still see it, but it's clearly been removed from a list. You don't know what that means, but Arecia Angel's name is not anymore one of the active recipients. And there are a couple of names like that you can actually see, that have a line basically through them, so that they have been sort of crossed out to some degree. The other thing that you're able to see is information relating to the Stormdark and Long Winter project. And this basically makes reference to a number of payments that are made to places you may be familiar with. A certain mysterious space station that seems to fit the coordinates of one that you've been to before. A certain Colonel Blatt on Terra that you all went to some time ago when you were dealing with a long winter situation with Terra also. This is also where some of these payments were going to, I mean. And all the payments apparently in all these folders seem to be coming from some mixture of Stormdark and aspects of Altai Media. Specifically, you see Merrick, the manager, who is one of the people who was a giver, a sender of this money. Also, you note that Merrick's name has also got a line through it now.
Mm.
However, I will point out, you do not see Bliss Larkham's name anywhere on any of these lists. Hey, Mrs. Dunsel. Happy Thanksgiving.
Okay. And this folder was just information relating to Stormdark and Long Winter. Are there other folders of information? Maybe one called the location where Bliss Larkham is.
where Bliss Larkham could be found.
Yes.
No, this doesn't seem to have information about that. This seems to be specifically about payments to and from, and locations and people that are connected to that in some way. So, yeah.
It definitely incriminates a lot of...
It does, but it's interesting that Bliss Larkham isn't there at all on that list. Also not there on the list, incidentally, Fel Omric. In case anyone cares. Fel Omric is not listed there either.
Well, looks like we have no lead as to where she is. I know that, what's his name? Our hacking buddy. I'm forgetting his name at the moment.
Abraxas?
Abraxas.
Yep.
I know he'll be happy to get his hands on this. I don't trust giving it to the guy who gave it to us. But I think we got to get out of here. I don't know if we can figure out where she is.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the name too. Who is the guy who gave us all the chips to get in here and stuff?
That's Fel
was
Omric,
Fel
who was
Omric.
the...
That's Fel, okay.
Yeah, who was the brother of the
Right.
security captain.
Do you think we could just like slowly mosey on over to where we last saw Fel and just happen to see if he's still hanging out there? Because I have a question or two for him.
Okay. You can move in that direction. Now, one thing I will say is because you're in the Hyperlance, which is apparently the cloak appears to be holding, the Hyperlance is not a shuttle. So its ability to, land somewhere and like drop you off, and it's not going to be easy to do that, and it's certainly not going to be able to get into the lower tunnels, because you may remember that you went into, deep. Hold on, I'll find it. Too many names. Into Lower Port 9. That you had to go, you may remember, sort of almost to the lowest levels of the Bastion to kind of find Fel Omric in the first place. You will not get a ship down there, at least not a ship the size of the Hyperlance. You're only able to get here because this is like the tallest building in a higher level, of the Bastion overall. So that doesn't mean you can't go there. Just be aware that the Hyperlance will not be able to bring you all the way.
If that's what you want to do, Sleepwell, then I guess if it's a stop on the way out.
Yeah.
I mean, he's really just like the only connection we have, and clearly, since she's not there, we need to know what to do next. And we also need to know, because we didn't like this guy from the start, and now I feel like we really need to know.
How about either way? Well, Fel Omric said that he was basically getting his information and his help from Abraxas, who we've chosen to trust, at least for now. I could forward this chip to Abraxas. I don't know. My feeling is we need to get out of here right now, and if we stop to see him, especially if he's not even there, that might put us in a less advantageous position if we need to dart out of here. And if we really do have a problem with this guy, then I guess we could ask Abraxas about him. But
Sleep well is allowing reason to penetrate his very
Oh,
thick feline skull, and he's just kind of like
She's
he's
saying, "Oh,
angry
good."
about it. He doesn't like it,
Oh, lovely.
but he doesn't say anything. He just glowers, which
Okay.
is kind of
Okay.
like, spoiled teenager for fine.
Petra, what do you think?
I'm in total agreement. Let's,
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Let's,
What are you gonna do?
course to leave Bastion. Sounds
Yeah.
like.
Okay. So now getting out of Bastion, the question is where do you want to go? First of all, where are you planning to go outside of Bastion? And then secondly, how are you going to have, well, I don't want to feed the idea to you. What ways are you going to try to pilot the ship to get out? Are you going to sort of leave this in Rona's hands? Or are you going to try to let the Hyperlance manage it AI style with your connection? Petra, how do you want to address that?
I think we should get Rona to do it. I don't think we should use my connection
Okay.
unless we really need to.
Okay.
And I think Rona might need her confidence rebuilt.
She looks a little shaken up, yes. Okay, that's fair enough. And as far as where you're going,
Do you mean what way out of Bastion?
no, I
we are
mean,
heading?
once you're out, assuming that Rona can get you out, where do you want to head? Because
Can you show
the
us
universe
this-
is your oyster. Yes,
Can you
Yeah.
show us the star
I
map?
shall indeed. As we move into Firefly, the game. All right. Or Farscape, I guess. Okay, so you right now, let me zoom out a bit. So you are not over there. I think I put Bastion, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. Actually, while I have Alligator Alley Brian, I'll ask him where we put Bastion, because I think I know, but I want to make sure. I want to make sure that I'm clear on where it is.
I forgot too. But we could, if we need to get this chip to Abraxas and talk to him about the plan.
Oh, Silrain
next stage
Prime.
of the
I
plan.
found it. Sorry,
Yeah,
I found it.
You're good.
It's right here. Sorry, I found it. No, I found it, Brian. It's fine. I just didn't. I knew that it was somewhere.
He's never gonna want to watch this again.
No. Okay. Yeah. So the Bastion is basically here. So you have, you got Pelseros,
So we could head to
Peltiverin.
Pelseros to talk to Abraxas. That seems
Yeah.
like a good start.
Yeah,
But-
I think we just head back. Mission
back to
accomplished,
Tokyo.
dude. Kind
Yeah.
of.
Yeah, asterisk.
Yeah.
Okay, so Rona pilots the Hyperlance with a little bit of noting for the record that it's nice that she's being allowed to pilot it now, because apparently it's now accepting her inputs and everything in a way that it wasn't doing before. So she makes her way expertly out and through, and you can now see as you get a little bit closer that the Hyperlance did not go through traditional channels. There is a massive hole that has been blown in one side of the dock area, and through the dock area, and there's just like a host of ships like surrounding and scuttling in and out. Like you can see and on the docks you can see a bunch of people in suits, because apparently at the moment there's sort of a rupture there, all pointing up and gesticulating, and you can see the sort of sodium flare of torches, like welding torches and various things, like trying to put these things back together. It looks like it was not a quiet departure that the Hyperlance had. And there are everywhere you can see a bunch of security guards walking up and down with some kind of high-powered rifles. There's also some drones down there as well. And Rona kind of swears under her breath as you get closer and says, "I don't know how well this cloak's going to work, but you better front and hope it holds." And you can sort of see as you're heading towards the blown-in hole with the sort of guards and everything around it and the ships around it. Hey, what's up, Rudnell? Yeah, where I'm going, I don't need doors. It carefully slides through, and it's cloaked in almost whisper quiet, so you have this moment of just barely passing through. If anyone remembers, I think it's Star Trek 3 when they're leaving the base wrongly, and Scotty has set it up so the doors open just as a second before the Enterprise actually passes through. So that's more or less what this is like, and passes all the way through. And as you're beginning to get through, and there's a sort of deep exhalation on the bridge, and Rona sort of and begins to sort of set up to jump here, make the jump and warp out, basically. She is about to do that, and then there is a little incoming call on the vid screen. And she looks up, and she's like, and she looks down at her terminal, and then it looks like it's from, well, it's not a number, but it says, good luck. Can we talk for a moment? Amrik? And she looks back at you. It seems like it's coming in on a guard ship frequency, but the person who is speaking through it appears to be Amrik, or someone passing themselves off as Amrik.
What is a guard ship frequency? I'm sorry.
In other words, it's coming in on this like a police band. It's coming in the same
Okay.
band that the guards were talking on, that the security here talks on.
Right. So, immediately I say, that doesn't seem secure to me.
And she nods and she says, I think it's encrypted, but it's coming through. It's a number I would think is from security, but
Well, we did have, was his name also Amrik?
yes, his brother.
Yeah.
Or his, there was Alden,
Mm-hmm.
and then there was Amrik, who was the guy who did all this stuff. Well, I don't know, Sleepwell, what do you think? You're suspicious of it, and you said you had questions. Here he is, calling us. Want to
I
answer?
mean, if it's him, or if they're trying to find us through the cloak, and be able to triangulate where we are, is there any way to sort of like see the contents of a message? Like, is it a message that was sent, or is it like trying to open a channel?
It's a request for the latter. It's a request for like a chat of some
I
kind.
see.
Video, audio,
So
or
then
whatever.
maybe, is there a way for us to communicate without possibly revealing our location?
Lay it on me, maybe.
Well, yeah. And so, like, what I'm thinking is this: basically, we want to sort of like through caller ID would work. We want to sort of like be able to call them back, but call them back on a channel of our choosing.
Okay, I'll buy that. What channel would you use? Like, what kind of channel?
So now I turn to Petra and say, like, how can we make this super secure? Can you ask in your ship?
Boy, we are out of my depths here. I can try. I don't know. I think this is probably him. Do you really think it's somebody they're like using him to try and get us to ping us?
Well, it's Amrik. We don't know which Amrik, and there's no reason at all to trust that fell dude. Tells us, we're rescuing Bliss, and there's no Bliss, no sign of Bliss. Tells us the floor to go to, not at all the information we wanted. I would rather make a secure call.
Why don't we just send back a message and where we're going to contact them later once we get to elsewhere? Does that
Do
make
we
sense?
know if our messages can be traced?
I don't know. Arv, do we know if our messages can be traced?
You don't for sure. Obviously, most messages can be traced depending on how long they last. But this is actually a fairly consistent thing, even in the future, that the shorter the message, the less time there is to triangulate and figure out, especially in space. I mean, like, there are so many radio signals and messages and contact points that it's not easy to be able to track down, one particular thing. So if the message is short, it would be hard to be traced.
Can we do something like basically like an onion router, where we basically try to send it to 20 different places, so it's hard to tell where it finally originated from?
Yes, the sneakers, bouncing it off 35 satellites. Yes, I think it is possible to do that. if a certain computers expert might be willing to around on the ship might be willing to give it a shot. I don't think this is like a mechanical thing, but anyone who wants to do some computers wizardry
That
would
might be Aramis's
That might be
wheelhouse,
Senor Black Hat. Yes.
Yep.
Which I don't know if he has the ability to do that anymore.
I mean,
Well, this is not a black hat. I mean, like this would be because yeah. So I think
Straight
this would
up
be a straight computers check.
computers.
Yes.
and I think
Right.
all of us can probably try and help. Like I have the computers.
I
I'm
don't-
pretty good at it.
I don't know that you can help though. I mean, because I don't know what you'd be doing that would add to it. I mean,
Oh, kibitzing. Don't do that. Don't do that.
no, press the button
I
there.
think
Press
that
the
would
button
actually be
there.
a
No,
minus
there.
in
Do the
that
button there.
case.
Okay, I'll have Aramis just make a straight computers check. And we'll see
Okay,
what
sounds good.
happens.
Oh, thank you, Dragon. I'm glad you're willing to make that check. 15?
15.
So, Aramis is able to do it and bounces it off a number of places where he's pretty confident it's going to take. They might be able to get back to it, but it'll take a little while. And so, Aramis says,
Only needs a little while, yeah, because we're going to be out of this space in a minute.
right,
so-
yeah.
What if we,
I think just the problem with talking with him right here and right now is Bastion's looking for us hostile right now. If we go to somewhere like Pelseros, a more independent place where if they come in trying to claim us or something, we might get the backing of the people to help. Maybe we just say, maybe we don't even say anything. Maybe we just go and then, you know, let his call go to voicemail and then call him back when we're in a safe location ready to, if it is a trap.
Yeah, why don't we just say, send a video?
Sure.
Okay.
Also,
So you want to do that?
That way,
Yeah.
no live connection.
Okay.
Yeah, we got the VPN. Don't worry,
Okay, that's sounds good.
We've got the Tor router on.
Exactly.
We're
Okay, you do that. You get back a Twitch TV, live stream link, and no. So you do that, and a few, probably 30, no, maybe about a minute, 10 seconds, minute of 60 seconds pass, and everyone's sort of quietly waiting. And then there is a doo-doo-doo-doo, which is again another signal, and Rona looks back and nods and says, "It's a video file."
check for viruses.
And she does. She's like, "Well, there's 700 Trojan." No, she runs it through and does not find anything
Okay.
on it. It's just one file.
So I think we all feel good about playing this.
Yeah.
yeah.
So you click on it, and you are presented with the image of Fel Amric. Fel Amric is sitting in a seat, and he's looking sort of definitely inside somewhere, definitely not on that outside bench where you met him before. And he has a big smile on his face. And he says, "You all have become my favorite charity for the day. I just covered the base expenses for your little escape. Your payment should contain costs for incidentals per diem and ammo. You'll find it in there when you actually get there." And he grins broadly and he says, "I managed to convince my brother to let me use this secure channel to contact you. He promises me he's going to forget it and then forget about me in about 5 minutes, which sounds about right. He says, I understand you don't have reason to trust me. I thought that she was there. My information apparently was bad, and I'm going to find out why. But I am glad that you found what we needed to, especially about Stormdark. As for the rest, it can wait. I want you to get out of here and make sure you stay away for a while." He grins broadly and he says, "I'd say I'm greatly impressed, but then again, I was never here, so no comment." And then it shuts down after that.
Oh, bother.
So that's it. And then the video that's the end of the file.
That man thinks he's much cooler than he is.
Yeah. Try hard. Shall we?
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's still head
Yeah.
to Pelseros and then figure out from there.
Yeah.
So you head off to Pelseros, and I will say, as you do that, that you are all able to check, and you see that there has been a couple of things that you note that is sent to you on your trip back. The first is that you get a cubal deposit. You have had 3,000 cubals deposited into your group account. It is from a double-blind shadow source, which means you don't know where the hell it is. It just showed up somewhere. And like the source is like, if you were looking at this on a sheet, it's like just dash, 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 dash. So you don't know where the money's actually coming from, but it's there now. And the other thing that you find is information, supposedly, that is encrypted, and which is relating in some way to further information that has been found based upon knowledge that you may have or may not have discovered. And there's two things that I want to point out about that information that seems of relevance here. The first is that Baludan and Stormdark, apparently, are all agents of the Shadow Technocracy. This was assumed that they were connected, but it was never as directly obvious. But based on analyzing those payments, and it seems like a lot of the files that got sent over to Fel Amrik were the same ones, Kaz, that you were looking at, except in more depth. A lot of them are like payment records, that this sort of conclusively demonstrates that Baludan is an agent of the Shadow Technocracy. And that indeed the Shadow Technocracy is putting out now huge expenditures in the technology sector, specifically in research into nano and cyber virus enhancement technology, which is also indicative of the same thing that some of what you've learned has been the case. But the other bit of information is something you didn't expect, and it's a link to what was a previous live video feed. It's a sim reel, and it says Zephyr Hunters is the title of this sim reel.
What exactly is a sim reel?
So a sim reel is basically like Bliss Larkin was a sim star who did a live sim concert. A sim reel basically means that you are watching this take place by entering VR, but it's a recorded version of that. So it's like a VOD, basically, is what it is.
A VR VOD.
Yes, and it's called it's a sim reel, but it seems to be just released, and it seems to be, at least according to the little tag that's next to it, one of the top-rated sim reels on the list. And
What's it
the
called again?
pilot has been sent to you. Zephyr Hunters is the name.
Let's check this out.
Yeah, let's watch a sim.
You watch the Zephyr Hunters as the heroic exploits of Espers infiltrate the clandestine stronghold of a powerful megacorporation. It is strikingly lifelike and realistic. In fact, so strikingly lifelike and realistic, it reminds you very much of your own mission. In fact, you think it is your mission. And it reminds you that you may have, for example, so it appears, you may have been using those little things that were, you may remember, little transponders, right?
Yeah.
That these allowed the video of what was happening to be taken. It must be noted, though, that Zephyr Hunters puts all of you in the best conceivable light. And there's a big sort of countercultural, like there are the equivalent of Reddit threads about this thing that pop up, and people talking about how incredibly cool the whole thing is, and about how all of the people participating are really experts, and how, corporations really are a big problem, and maybe you can't trust. And you see that there are like obvious bot accounts that are trying to kind of ridicule this stuff, and people immediately call out the bot accounts as being this. So this seems to be creating a little bit of a grassroots element of resistance, it might be said, towards Zephyr Core, starring apparently all of you. Just the pilot is there without comment, but when you do the little bit of a looking around on the equivalent of the galactic web, you can find those other pages of image.
So I turn to everybody before anybody can say anything cool about this. I say, all right, everybody into the fucking med lab so I can get these stupid things out of our wrists.
Fair enough.
All right. Good luck with mine.
Cough it up, Starboy.
You look in my Volare star interior, and you just see this little chip just like drifting inside, like a little fish tank.
Oh man. Actually, when you bring them into the med lab, Sleepwell, you see that these chips are not there anymore. If you had to guess, you would assume that they have dissolved. There's probably some synthetic substance that allows them to eventually dissolve over time, so that none of them, including in Kaz, although you're not 100% sure with the Bellare, but are available. These things seem to be gone.
Okay, and so just as a note for our next long break, I'm going to do like a thorough examination of everybody
course.
to make sure that that is indeed the case. But for
remind
now,
me if I forget. Yeah.
Right on.
Yep. And you all can get a long rest, by the way. You were also up to, I think Kaz was at 64 to 64. I think Sleepwell was at. I think you were actually in decent healing shape after being close to death on several occasions.
Right, yeah.
Because of this.
As soon as I had control of my character again, suddenly the healing started. Amazing.
Oh man.
The 3,000 that we got, I'm assuming that was total, not each.
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Still a good amount though. 3,000 is
I
a
vote it goes to the captain.
good number of cubles.
We might want to save it to spend on repairs, but that is.
I mean,
I think that's what we should do. is
just
stick it to
it
that.
needs to go into someone's account, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Well, we have a group account
okay.
apparently, since that's where it went, right?
Do something wonderful.
I'll keep track of the group account then.
Okay. Other than that, the trip back to Pelseros is relatively uneventful. I'm going to assume that you wouldn't be able to keep cloaked the whole time on the way back, and I'm going to assume that you, at a certain point, don't do that anymore.
Yeah, we won't do that. I do want to do one thing though. In that same secure channel that we were able to develop, I wanted to send a video message to Lamokai.
Yes.
And just to the last known number that I had, and I'm just gonna kind of look at the camera and say like, had to leave. Things got too hot, as you know, but I want to find Dad. Not sure when I can contact you again. We'll try though, as soon as it's possible.
Okay.
And just kind of like send that off.
Okay, you're able to do that. You do not get a response yet. I mean, as time goes on, you do not get a response yet.
Mhm.
Okay.
How much time passes in our travel to Pelseros?
I would say, assuming that you're not going at top speed the whole time, but it's more like you're trying to fly casual, so to speak.
Yeah.
My guess would be that it would take you probably about 3 or 4 days to do it. Would be my guess, yeah.
So in those days, Kaz would like to go to where we kind of keep objects that we've stored on the hyperlance.
Yep.
I think at one point we stored like one of those weird lizard corpses.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
saying that we still have that, but I mentioned it last time, way back when we fought Ibis, who had that disc platform
Yes.
and was floating around. I have here that it's damaged, but we kept it on the hyperlance.
Yep.
And if possible, Kaz would like to start trying to fix that that disc platform.
Okay. Let me have you make a mechanics check
Okay.
to do that.
Can I, ascertaining that it would take mechanics, Kaz would call up Sleepwell.
Okay.
At some point to be
Yeah,
like,
and I'm
"Hey,
going to ask each of you what you're doing. I mean, I heard from Sleepwell, although you can tell me other things if you wish, and I'm going to ask about Petra as well, and you can tell me what you want Aramis to be doing.
Oh, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Hey, Sleepwell, I have a bit of a project that I could use your help with.
Come on over, and I come on over.
So, this disc thing.
Oh yeah, this thing.
Yeah, I don't even remember where we fought this guy. I think he was on the Tangrel. That sounds familiar. No? Something
No,
like that.
I think this was on the space station. Actually, this was on Pelseros when it wasn't in our control.
I think you're correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember this guy.
Oh, yeah,
Scary.
and there were all the crates full of Kanasi.
That's right. That's where we got Alfred, if you'll remember.
Alfred? Where's Alfred?
Alfred's on Pelseros, so I'm gonna go check on him as soon as we
Okay.
go.
Okay. There's another Alfred out there, but we don't talk about him.
Right.
Okay.
Arudinel says, you save slug bits, a dead lizard, a karasi thing, a few more in crates. Not sure what ship you pack ratted each in, but you guys are becoming candidates for a reality show on HGTV. The ultimate storage wars. Like,
This is our cabinet of
Space
curiosities,
hoarders.
you know?
well, it looks like it's worth quite a bit on this Antiques Roadshow 2016.
Yeah, that's right. I had that big slug
It's
head
just a
from the thing
Volare
that fought us.
in the background of. Oh, I love it.
Oh man.
So anyway, so it's like,
Yeah.
what? So,
I'd
you
like
want
to
to
try
fix this thing?
Yeah. I mean, he rode around on it. I don't know. We could use it to carry things, or
Maybe you could be like this sort of silvery kind of surfer on it.
maybe. Yeah.
Well,
I don't know
just
if we
paint you
could-
silver, but
I
yeah.
don't know if it would.
DMCA
hold
strike.
me, but, or we could put a spot on it, at the very least. Of course, it should be able to hold a cat. You know, I'm sure Aramis would be thrilled about that.
Like
but
that cat
anyway.
doesn't need to be spoiled. But yeah, let's try and fix it.
Yeah, I could use your help. You might be better at the mechanics part of this than I am. I don't know. So we try to fix it together.
Okay. A lot of the damage seems to be to its anti-grav systems, from what you can tell, Sleepwell, that have somehow gotten. The disc is very delicately balanced, so that when everything is right, it's as if it has this field perfectly around the rim of this object, so that it's able to float. But that's gotten out of whack, and so it's delicate work basically. But yes, you can definitely make a mechanics check. You can get a little bit of assistance, but a lot of it is sort of like fine like tool work, which, you know, like Kaz can be like you were like you were saying about the other one, like no, turn that screw. Like you could do
Right.
that. That there's not a whole lot that can be done here.
He'll just hand me spanners and things like
yeah,
that. right?
basically
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
scalpel.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So you could do that. So yeah, go ahead and make your mechanics.
So
check.
no extra bonus for him, just what I have then, right?
I would say. I mean, unless there's something I'm missing, which Zach wants to argue for Kaz, but I don't. Off the top of my head, I don't think so.
Yeah, other than us maybe noticing things about the mechanics that need to be fixed that the other didn't. If I'm just gonna get in the way, then us-
Yeah. I mean, I think it'll be more if there's a failure.
yeah.
Sleep well. That would be something that then we'd have to figure out how to manage.
Okay, here we go.
I don't have anything.
21.
Oh,
Okay. Yeah, I think that you are able to. Okay. Sorry, I was looking for. I've been trying to look for an icon for Spot, a token for Spot. I got to get Aramis on that. Yeah, I think with the 21, you were able to rebalance basically this thing and this field. Interesting thing about this anti-grav disc, as you're in the process of working on it, is that there's no question that this is at least partially Sleepwell Sorium powered. There's now, you know, that's not incredibly unusual, except the Sorium itself is sort of in a strange form. It's almost partially inert. And it's not until you rebalance the thing so that as I say, there's this field around it, that all of a sudden the thing is able to, wobble into place, and you're then able to sense that there is Sorium, which has been somehow woven into the material of the disc in an unusual way. It's almost like magnetizing something and then putting it into a field of magnets and watching as it floats. You have not seen Sorium used this way before.
Yeah, so, I kind of share this with Kaz and say, like, this thing's actually kind of a wonder. Like, if we can't actually use it for something practical, it might actually be really good to sell.
hey, that sounds good to me.
I like it.
What if wondering what the functionality might be if one were to use it as a shield. Like, what if the anti-grav deflects melee attacks or something?
Interesting. Yeah, I wonder if you could throw it, if it would come back to you.
Wait a second.
Maybe a star could be made on it.
Yeah. Whenever we've seen Petra swing her impressive and large hammer, is this done two-handed or one-handed? Usually.
It is two-handed, I believe. Make sure.
I mean, we could if we wanted to go that route, we could talk to Petra about maybe she wants to go one-handed and shield. You know, with the amount of times that she had to take damage for us, maybe helping to protect her more would be.
Oh my gosh, yeah. My
That was
shoulders
kind of-
still hurt from all that healing. God.
Yeah, I know that she was the one that suffered the damage, but watching that was traumatizing. I mean,
Yeah. I think I have carpal tunnel.
yeah.
I like that you
Anyway.
say that completely seriously, by the way. Just like, yeah, it's really difficult watching you get hurt all the time. There's a lot of put me through a lot of
There was a lot
pain.
of effort on my part.
Look, it's my limited capacity for empathy. Okay, I'm trying. So did we actually manage to?
Yeah,
to
so what
fix
is
it?
the thing that we made?
So you have made essentially an anti-grav disc, which is the equivalent in D&D terms of Tensor's floating disc.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
It's something which allows you to carry a certain amount of weight, and it will float along beside you. You can basically command it using a special built-in remote control that can be put on your wrist or something like that, to rise, to lower. You can have it drop all the way to the ground. There are limits to what it can do. It can carry a single, there's room enough on the disc to carry a single individual standing up to a certain weight. And the weight limit is fairly high, probably something in the order of like 300 pounds, something like that.
Nice.
But it will only do this for a single individual. Even if you tried to stack, people on top of each other, or like have someone hold them in their arms, the disc won't work because it'll throw it out of balance. It works only with a single individual, because that apparently is what the thing is balanced to manage. And so, yeah.
Is there an Esper Genesis equivalent to that spell? Do you know?
I don't know. Let me look it up.
But yeah, I'm looking for it. I mean, I understand either way. But
Yep.
okay, all right.
But it's a
well,
little more. But I mean, my point is that it's a little more useful than Tensor's floating disc,
Right.
because it could theoretically carry a person.
Okay.
It's not going to go fast though. It'll go no faster than a walk when you're on top of it. So yeah,
You've invented a golf cart.
basically, yes.
And I
Alright.
mean, so like if you commanded it to go like as fast as it could and it was unencumbered, it had nothing on it, and you just said go as fast as you can into that monster's face, could it be used as a kind of like fling it over?
It would promptly go at a walking pace. It seems to be what it's designed to do. It doesn't seem like it has really many speeds.
Right.
It, slow and less slow and more slow. Basically, it's not fast. Yeah,
It's a stately disc.
it's
All right.
well, but you can think about what it could be used for, but it definitely is not touching the ground, and it could be used to hover over gaps or things like that.
Right. Okay, great. So there's your
well,
disc.
Good job. This is great. We got to figure out what to use it for. I mean, would it give you a fly speed, or does it just let you hover?
No, you could technically, in quotes,
'cause he was
fly
flying, so-
slowly with it, but it's not
Yeah.
it's not fly at the top speed. But yes,
Yeah.
it technically could lift for a while.
Got it.
There is an upper limit to it, you suspect, because there's a certain area at which the repelling effect probably wouldn't work anymore. You're not. I mean, you could test it if you want, although the Hyperlance is not enormous for this in terms of height in the ship. But maybe it could go maybe like 15 feet up or something like that, or 20 feet up, but it probably doesn't go 100 feet up before it doesn't have that thing to repel off of down below.
I see you're thinking of something, Sleepwell.
So yeah, I remember that we have this slug head that we took off that slug monster that was attacking the Hyperlance.
Apparently.
Yeah, and so I'm gonna put that on the disc for right now, so that we can, have the slug head follow us wherever we go.
We should drive it into Petra's room and see what she does.
I just okay. Suddenly this,
Well, we might finally try to offload this thing rather than just having a slug head in a closet. We might as well try to do
Yeah,
something with
I
it.
kind of forgot that was there.
this is
Yeah,
Firefly by
yeah.
way of Spaceballs. I did not realize we were going that way. All right. So you mount this. Do you put a carton? Do you put a cloak over the head of the slug head down
hell
on the
no.
bone to make it?
No. This thing is like my ventriloquist
Yeah.
dummy. How you doing, Sluggy? Oh, I'm fine. Like
Got
we're working up an act.
This doesn't surprise me at all. Okay, sounds good. You can do that.
Goodness. Okay, cool. Well, we'll figure out a proper use for that. Later.
Arden says top hat, obviously. Exactly.
Exactly, and a monocle.
Monocle.
A monocle. Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Sleep well. Good. Let's. I'm ready to get to Pelseros.
Okay, so
Although,
oh, go ahead,
do we,
Sarkaz.
do we want to talk to Petra about the idea of using it as a shield? I mean, I want to.
I think you should just go right ahead. I'm kind of just like, petting my slug head and thinking deep
Of
thoughts.
course. Well, your slug head is on the disc, so I
Right.
have to. Okay, we're gonna. Okay, so we'll go visit Petra in her quarters.
While you've all been working on this, I am curious about what Petra is doing during the day's trip before we get the slug head disc
So-
contraption.
Petra has actually been cozied up with a terminal and searching the net, and she is looking for any sign of Tesora Merkel.
Mhm.
And she is checking old bulletin boards and places where she thinks Tesora might leave a message. And she's checking just like any clues that she can think of, looking for any sign of Tesora.
I would like you to make a computers check for me, please, Petra. As you are searching the deep web.
Oh, it'd be a nice time to roll some well.
Don't forget, you could always, if you want inspiration, you could always ask.
Oh,
Let's
wait.
see.
Petra, you have inspiration. Both you and I have an inspiration from last time we didn't get to use.
Oh,
I
true.
think I might
I'm
as well.
going to
but
use my inspiration for
Okay.
this.
I should keep track of that.
Okay, so the first one. Ooh,
That's a good start. Might as well roll again just to see if you
yeah.
critically hit.
No.
Okay.
The 20 should.
Yeah. So for a while, you find only sort of kind of tracings of the sort of thing that seems quite like Tesora. Sometimes it's a news story, Petra, which involves sort of some mysterious figure having scammed people out of stuff, and it just sounds like Tesora, always being in the wrong place at the wrong time, even though they're not actually using her name. Then there are other situations where you see a situation just sort of, quickly disintegrated. People talk about this on some of the message boards about a situation that disintegrated on one star base, for example. No one really knew why, except that it involved the arrival of a stranger, and it ended with the star base basically being in lockdown and ships spiraling out of nowhere, out of control and things like that. Sounding very Tesora-like. The thing that you find interesting is that there is a considerable lack of information regarding to Tesora starting about, I would say, 2 months ago, more or less around the time that you had gone to Old Earth and had basically tried to deal with Colonel Blatt and all that kind of stuff. Maybe a month and a half ago or so, when all of that sort of detail dries up. You don't see any obvious news postings or anything like that. It's as if Tesora has, for the first time since you've started doing this and looking at this, gone silent.
Well, I will poke away. Then at some point, I believe I hear a knock on the door. Or perhaps I just look up to see a hovering head.
A slug head. Yes. Okay.
Surprise!
There they are, Sleepwell and Kaz.
What do you think?
What?
Yes?
So it appears to me
Yep.
that you
Mhm.
put a head on a floating disc, and I'm sure there's a plan that goes with this head on a floating disc. I'm just curious what so first, I'm curious about this, but B, I also want to know if you run it past Aramis, because if not, I would very much like to be there at the moment when you introduce him to it.
I think that's for later.
Okay.
But, no, this is Sleepwell having some fun. After very, very concisely and precisely fixing this old platform.
Well
So-
done.
Thank you. But Kaz here has an idea for you that could make this floating, slug head delivery device turn into something more useful for you, possibly.
Yes.
Are you offering me my own personal slug head delivery device?
I think Sleepwell's gonna want
Well,
to keep.
now that you say
Sleepwell's
that.
very attached to the slug head, so that'll probably stay with him. But
Okay,
we were
visibly relieved at that.
we were toying around. This is an anti-grav platform thing. We don't really know what to use it for aside from this.
This is great, by the way.
It is in its own little way. So I was throwing around the idea of if we wanted to try to make it into a shield of some sort. And I know that when you're swinging your very large and impressive hammer, that you're doing that with two hands. I'm not sure if the hammer that you have is the kind that you could hold with one, or if you'd even want to.
I don't know. Arp, is my hammer... I've been using it two-handed. Can I use it one-handed?
You can use it one-handed. I think when you do that, though, the damage is going to be less as a consequence. So you'll be exchanging a little bit of damage for the benefit of an increased, I believe, armor class is what you would get as a benefit from this. And so it would make you a little more tanky, but you would not do as much by way of damage.
Shadow Mage says 1d8 versus 1d10.
Yeah, that's basically it.
Well, speaking as someone who's done a lot of being smacked down and standing up lately, I don't know that this sounds like a terrible idea to me.
We're also hoping that the anti-grav can be used to maybe repel enemies or somehow make it even harder to hit. So
that's wishful thinking. I think we have to, that's the goal. That's the goal.
That's the goal.
yeah.
I just don't know how possible it is. It was just an idea. But hey, Sleepwell was able to fix it, so
That's awesome.
I think we would have to see about putting armor on it because it's not a shield yet. We had to fix it from being damaged, so that insinuates that maybe using it as a shield in its current form would not be a good idea. But find a way to do we visit like a space blacksmith? I don't know.
Space Smith.
Space smith.
Pelseros has to have at least a couple of those, I would think.
Maybe. And then try to keep the grav properties somehow. Who was
I'm
the
willing
guy
to test out this.
that,
What?
there was the guy that gave Aramis the staff, and then me the chameleon cloak, and the black hole gun. Oh, and Kaz produces the melted and crumbled remains of the grenade launcher.
We all
yeah.
just,
Those were good
for
times.
the chat for the grenade launcher.
I forget what you guys got. But,
Oh, I got a cool staff. I have a really useful staff. I like it a lot.
Oh, and then didn't you get armor from that person, Petra?
I think that's it.
Yeah.
Yes.
They armored you up.
Yes.
We
Pretty
could
sure that's
try
it.
So
to
we
see
should,
him.
we should visit the black market again.
That's a good idea. I like that.
All right, that's a plan then. So after we talk to Abraxas,
Right. But for right now, since there's nothing else we can do, let's all go visit Aramis with the slughead.
I think that's an excellent idea.
sure.
Now, you told me, Kaz, in no uncertain terms, or Zach, that you had plans for. You're like, you wait till I tell you what Aramis is doing. So I'm wondering, what has
Oh.
Aramis been doing?
Well, I'm afraid to go too ridiculous here. But in the little thought bubble that comes out of Kaz's head, as we're walking over to Aramis's room, Kaz is like, "What is Aramis doing?" And the little thought bubble comes up. He imagines that Aramis is in his quarters and has lowered the lights and has set up a kind of like a candlelit shrine to the inflatable bed, honoring its service to our group and how our recent success is planned out. But as we enter into his room, Aramis is probably drinking, pretty
Yes.
moderately, and then I'd imagine
He was pretty sober before, remember?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, he kind of sobered up. I don't know if he's drinking.
That's true. So maybe he's not.
He's joined Aramis Anonymous.
Maybe he's drinking a coffee. And his interests as of late, I think he had his old companion that was kind of interesting to him. I forget his name. Not Mavalian, earlier than that.
You're talking about
Medici.
Yeah, Medici. Yep.
I would imagine Aramis is probably taking some alone time to scroll through old documents and maybe do a bit of what Petra was doing, trying to search up old friends or connections, perhaps having to do with his past.
Okay. I'm going to ask you to also make a computers Aramis, I should say. Also
okay.
make a computers check for me, please.
Cool.
Gathering info. And also, hi, Prince Justin.
18.
All right.
Nice.
Yeah, I think that as you're looking, as Aramis is looking through things, mostly I think I imagine that Aramis is probably looking for videos of the time, right? I mean, you tell me, is he looking for videos of that time period, or is he looking for...
I mean, I think to a certain degree we should leave this up to Johnny to figure out.
Right.
And I was assuming that if we were to do this slug head reveal thing, we could probably do it when he returns.
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe we'll mention it and then he'll be like, "What's that?" And we'll do a flashback.
Yeah.
Or something.
Meanwhile, okay.
So I don't want to meta what he's doing without him here.
Okay. So we'll say that he's so we'll jump back to that moment and I will make a note of it, but people can remind me if we were going to do that, that we were going to do that as well. Otherwise, though, the rest of the trip back to Palceros seems to pass relatively uneventfully. And on the basically in the equivalent of the solar afternoon of the fourth day, out of Silrain, out of the Bastion, and heading towards Palceros, you finally get within range, and you're able to signal the security and sort of the docks and request permission to land if you wish. And Rona, lets you know that you're heading in to land at Palceros.
We do. We probably hail Abraxas.
Okay. So there's a sort of, as you do this, there's a moment's silence, and then, well, what have you been up to? And he says, there's all things going on in the chatter over here. Well, never mind, I'll talk about it in a moment. I have to talk to three. No, get over here. No, and it sounds like he's talking to someone in his office. No, I said, no, you bring the three. I'll sign the requisition. Listen, just come up here when you get here. And then signs off, sounding exasperated. And you're granted permission to land.
So, land we do.
Kaz says to Sleepwell, it was a bit odd that he said, "What are you doing here?" or something along those lines, feeding into our theory that maybe fellow Omric wasn't working with him.
Yeah. Just, it's kind of like just looks sullen and just waits for the ship to land to try to figure more of this out, because it all sucks.
When you land on the docks, you notice that you've been gone for a couple of weeks, actually, because you remember you went out you had to travel there, and then you've been at the Bastion for a while and dealing with some stuff before you turned around and left again. And Palceros has not been idle since you've been gone for those last couple of weeks. You notice that there is a whole, what looks like almost kind of retrofitting going on within the docks themselves. There are a bunch of these new plates, like armor plating basically, that's going on the outside of the dock area where normally you would go in to get into the docks. There's a bunch of armor plating that's being put on by what look like remote drones of some kind. And as you come in, you can see that there are more security people in place. And you can also see that the security people now seem to have what looks like some kind of a logo of some kind on their uniforms, and it looks like an interlocked P and an S, and then it seems to be some kind of cutaway line drawing of the station itself of Palceros underneath it. which is on all of these uniforms. And when you land with the ship and the crew and Rona get off, you are then, the security obviously clears your entrance, and so you're then available to go where you like on the Pelsero station.
So, I kind of like looked left and right and assume everybody's following me as I head right for Aramis.
Or Abraxas.
I'm sorry, Abraxas.
Aramis is like, ah!
Slughead?
Hey! Okay. So you were able to head to Abraxas's office. And at this point, I want to pause very briefly, and I want to ask the players, we're going to be going for about another hour. Do you want a break here and then that? Do you want to go for the hour? How's everyone feeling? I want to check before I go any further.
I would like a 5-minute able to run AFK.
Lovely. I thought that's why I wanted to give people the chance. So we are going to take a 5-minute break here. Everyone, you are watching day 55 of Esper Genesis, the conclusion of Altai Media Presents. And I hope you were enjoying the comedic and role-playing stylings of all kinds of Kat Rambo, Carlos Hernandez, and Zac Clay. We will be back to you folks in just a bit. Please follow the channel, do all those things, and we'll be back in about 5 minutes. Hang tight. All right. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to day 55 of Esper Genesis Altai Media Presents. We hope everyone's doing well. And yeah, welcome back to our little soiree, which will be going here for a little less than an hour or so, as we continue on with the movement of the ship back to Pelseros and whatever they're going to find afterwards. They have just arrived back at Pelseros, actually, as chat can now see based on upon where I've taken them. And I do want to take a moment just to zoom in a bit here and to show everyone what was just sent to me by none other than the great Brian Dalrymple. the one of the leads and the owner, co-owner of Alligator Alley Entertainment. He has sent us Sprocket.
All right.
So this is Sprocket, ladies and gentlemen. It's been created and sent. So thank you very much, Brian. I appreciate it. Okay, sleep well, Nordwolf. So there's Sprocket. So in case you were curious what the dog looks like, that is what the dog looks like. And it obviously is the best boy. I think that's pretty much obviously the case.
Best
I want
boy
one.
with freaking lasers for eyes.
Laser beams, yeah. So anyway, that is Sprocket. Thank you, Brian. That's very cool. We'll put that next to the rather sad-looking Spot, which is obviously currently just a might as well put just one of a Twitter egg or something there, right here. But hopefully we'll get something like that soon. But in any case, so thank you, Brian. That was funny. So you are on Pelseros, and you're now on your way, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, to see Abraxas.
That's right. And just for the sake of the record, the Slughead is coming with us.
Okay, good. I like the idea that since this goes no faster than a walk, that you are walking along slow enough, just a nice casual stroll, while everyone just keeps staring back at you with this Slughead that's passing by on this disc. Of course, they're also, they still notice you. You're all still the heroes of Pelseros, so they still kind of clap you on the back, and a couple people give you the friendly punch in the arm, but they all then sort of look at the Slughead, and a few people kind of open their mouths if they're going to ask you about it, and then they're like, and just sort of let it go. Time goes on. Yes, Slughead Parade, exactly, Rudno. But you make your way otherwise up to the new head of Pelseros, essentially, Abraxas. And when you get to the door is closed, but you can hear a kind of loud, it sounds like Abraxas' voice coming from inside the room. He doesn't seem happy about something.
Yeah, so if the door opens, I'm just going to open it.
Okay, so the door does indeed slide open, and you can see that Abraxas is currently standing up, and he's staring down at what looks like a terminal screen, except the screen is flat on the desk, and he's sort of looking at it, and every so often there's an old style keyboard that's on there, and every so often he just reaches a hand and then and he's pressing it as if he's trying to bang something on the keyboard. And so he's doing that as we speak.
Hey, buddy. That's a really old interface you have there.
Haas looks at the keyboard and starts frantically digging in his bag. Hold on. Pulls out the Zephyr Core keyboard that he had grabbed from the office.
Right.
Tech support?
And he stops, and then he looks up for the first time, and
brand new.
So he sees the keyboard first, Kaz, and he's like, maybe. This is an old interface. You're right. I don't know when the last time is. And then he looks over as he's talking to you, Sleepball, and he's like, what in the name of the 7 galaxies is that? And he's pointing up at the Slughead on the thing, and he says, what? Sleepwell, what is this?
Yeah, we killed that a while back. Maybe somebody wants to buy it. Anyway, that's not important right now. Right now, we want to talk to you about this computer chip that we have that has all sorts of information, and apparently a contact of yours that had very bad information that could have got us killed for no reason.
Wait, well, hold on. I mean, so he puts up a hand off. He's coming. He's like, come in. And so he waves you in, and he says, Kaz, while you're telling me this story, just can you try to put that keyboard?
Oh, I got you covered.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you to make a computers check for me, please, Kaz. It's not a super difficult one.
Tech support check.
Yeah.
All right.
Last time you folks did tech support, it involved a blown hole in a wall and 2 dead security guards. So let's hope this is a different tech check that time.
14.
Okay.
Very moderate 14.
Yeah, I would say that as you're looking at it, you're like, okay, it seems like this is a connector. What was the old one apparently was doing was double tapping on the keys. So you try to put in a command and it would basically tap, every time you typed a word, it would basically do 2 letters every time. Side note, this may not at all be taken from my recently deceased mechanical keyboard that was driving me up a wall doing this, memory for life. Anyway, So
Art imitates life.
yeah, sadly.
Or Arv imitates life.
Arv imitates life. Dragon Spear got me that keyboard too, and it was great for about a year and a half, and then it just started doing this thing. It was driving me up a wall. So anyway, I got a membrane keyboard, and yeah. So anyway, that's what it's doing. And so when you put this thing in, he's able to sort of access. He's like, oh right. He says, you see, it's got these what do they call them? Function keys, I think. And,
Yeah. And hey,
so he's
look
looking
at
at all of
this.
them. And,
I press a button and an RGB like slideshow of colors
oh,
starts flickering. around.
amazing. And he sort of
What are the
looks at
premier
that.
hackers?
He's like, perhaps you mean something
Yeah.
like that.
Yes, perhaps it means something like this.
Everything is RGB. It's impossible not to get it.
Yes.
So he seems very pleased, and then he sort of settles back and he says, I want to hear the whole tale, but first I need to ask, what exactly, well, I assume you're going to tell me, but did you get into trouble over there on the Bastion? Because the screens have been filled with, the news nets have been filled with nothing but this for the last week and a half. I tried to get through to you, but I wasn't able to access anything. The Hyperlands couldn't get through to either.
I don't know how much you want us to roleplay this and how much you want to summarize.
No,
for the
you can
sake
just
of
summarize the basics if you want, like basically
Yeah,
the
so
details.
we will take him through saving Bliss, getting falsely accused, meeting up with Fel, blowing up 2 floors of a building,
Right.
and fighting, flying our way back here.
So he sort of takes all this in, and then he kind of leans back and kind of puts his hand in his chin. And you notice, by the way, now that he's also wearing that same kind of logo that I mentioned before, and that in fact the room seems remarkably well organized for Abraxas based upon previous experiences. Petra, you encountered this guy first in a bar, so I mean, this person's come a long way. Very much. Lando Calrissian's making an honest living or something. And so he kind of puts his hand in his chin and rubs it thoughtfully, and he says, interesting. I had picked up some of these things, but nothing clear. And then there was that vid that came through, that Zephyr Hunters. They're talking about syndicating it, breaking it out to the whole thing. If they could ever find all of you, you'd have a wonderful career as actors. And he kind of rolls his eyes a little bit. And then he says, this one you're talking about, Fel Omric. I do know him. I've worked with him before, and when you talk about not trusting him, that's probably reasonable not to do. But he's never been anyone, at least as far as I know, that would be likely to sell people out, and certainly not to someone like Zephyrcore. If what he's saying is true about Shadow Dark, it's the last thing I can imagine someone like him doing. His real name, which he might have told you, is Amra Kayul. And, like you told me, he's the brother of the security chief there. What you may not know is that when they were young, Alden was the troublemaker. It was Omric who followed the rules, Omric who got him out of problems, Omric who saved him on more than one occasion. And when the tables turned, and Alden wasn't able to help his brother, that led to more than a little bit of a rift between the two of them. The only reason I know that is because Omric told me about it, and I followed up a little bit with his brother. It checks out as far as I know. So, he's not legitimate, but he's never struck me as the type of person to throw someone under the bus. He's kind of a shadowy figure, and unfortunately, when you're me, or more recently, all of you, he kind of raises an eyebrow and looks at all of you, you don't get the luxury of getting to do things above board. If you spend time in the shadows, you're going to have to work with those that like to live there, and they don't tend to be the nice people. Still, it bothers me what happened here at the Bastion. If it's true, as you say, that you rescued her and then all of a sudden you're being called out for a kidnapping and the murder of her manager, then it suggests they somehow managed to get into some high-level places, infiltrate places at the highest levels also of not just media, but security. That's worrisome to me. And it ties in with the kinds of things we've seen before from Long Winter and from the work of this Stormdark from Zephyrcore.
Kaz holds the decrypting chip thing that we received and offers it to him to analyze.
He sort of holds it up and he says, interesting. And he plugs it in, and now having his nice new, keyboard set in, like, is able to type away happily. And he says, interesting. You've got a nested folder here. That's excellent. That's cute, yes. Nice. Then he sort of smiles. So you saw this, Kaz, did you? And he kind of turns around the screen, and you can see, like, the folder, that's kind of there, that you had seen. And he says, you saw this, did you?
Yes. Yeah.
I'll bet, though, that you didn't necessarily see this. And he types in a couple of commands, and suddenly you see that a bunch of what look like essentially hidden files pop up. I'm using sort of, Windows equivalents, but you get the idea. These hidden files kind of pop up. And he says they all look to be just sort of like single letter name files, basically. A bunch of empty folders. And he says, most of the time if you process this comes out as garbage. Everyone looks at it and figures it's just a bunch of extra corruption maybe on the disk. But if you put the file names of each of these together, and he does that, and he says, it makes it into a very cleverly written amount of language, cache language specifically. And then he sort of is showing the cache language, and he says, now translate the cache language, and he types in some more commands, and you get this. And suddenly you were looking at a bunch of ones and zeros and ones and zeros and zeros and ones. And he says, that, my friends, is binary. And it's binary drone instructions specifically. You're supposed to put this into a drone or an AI. That's what's going to give you the message. This is high-level stuff. In fact, it's paranoid-level stuff. Whatever was in these files, they didn't want people finding.
Yeah. So,
I can whip up a drone right now for us, if that helps.
If it'll take input, I suppose. Just be aware, Sleepwell. I don't know exactly what this code's going to do to that drone. Can you control it when it happens?
Well, maybe I'll make one that's on the smaller side.
Okay.
So I'll basically use my level 2 drone power, and just whip up one of those little drones.
Okay. So he says, all right, and he types a couple things, then he pulls out another like small chip, basically, not the decryption one, another one, plugs it in, and copies a couple of files over, and then he hands the chip over to you, and he says, all right, you run it through its protocols, we'll see what it is that this thing is hiding.
Yep.
And so you do that, and for a moment the drone kind of does nothing at all, and then, and this is I should have asked, by the way, this is a hovering drone, yes? Like a floating drone? Okay. So you suddenly see the drone begin to gradually move in place, and there is a little laser light capability that it has sort of in its glowing eyes. And as it begins to spin around, you see, spinning faster, faster. At first you worry that it's sort of going to blow up, but it's doing so in a relatively enclosed space. And you see after a moment that, I don't know if any of you have ever seen the, they sometimes have these little like gadget things at like like shows and stuff like that, where if you spin something fast enough and there's a little LED, it spells out words, basically.
Yeah.
So that's what this starts to do, and it basically spins as fast as it can. And then it begins to show words that repeat, and it does it so quickly that the words begin to, as if you were reading them on a screen. The words that you read are apparently a manifesto. They are the Stormdark Manifesto, and they begin to list the many, many issues that exist within the Silrain Arc, with people who do not understand the value of technology, with people who don't understand the process and the cost of evolution, or the speed of it, the need to speed up evolution, the need to move things faster than might be the case before, and the need for people who understand the implications, the creatures of the galaxy who understand the challenges in front of them, to step forward and do what must be done no matter the cost. And after this manifesto concludes, there are details about the need to perfect something new, which could essentially bring together the disparate factions of the universe under one banner, the Stormdark banner, and also the Shadow Technocracy banner. And you then see references to Stormdark, references to the Shadow Technocracy, and most of all, references to something which is known as the Long Winter, and then it says the Project of Seasonal Change. So it says Seasonal Change Project, basically. And then refers to this thing as the SCP. And that the SCP will change the seasons of this galaxy, the seasons of the Silrain arc, until all is in perfect harmony, technologically and otherwise, with the new overlords, the Shadow Technocracy. The first step, the first season, it says, is the Long Winter. And then the thing slows down. And when it stops and the drone just kind of falls to the ground inert, Abraxas kind of leans back. Well, frail me.
That again.
So I kind of like I turned to Kaz, and kind of like in the way in which Sleepwell thinks he's being subtle, but probably Abraxas understands every single thing that he's doing. He's just sort of like, did you get any reaction? From there?
Oh, give me a second.
And I go, and I yeah, I drop inside my mind space.
Okay.
Not sure what that face would have looked like on a Bellare, by the way.
Right. Just like the upside down
My
face
color
emoji.
changes. Yeah.
So when you enter this this place, normally when you enter, you are sitting basically in this nice little pleasant field, basically.
Mhm.
But you find yourself in a different place now. You are in an empty room, almost empty, I guess I should say, and there is simply a table with two chairs, one against each other.
Business.
And as you sort of enter this place, you can see that the Long Winter's avatar, as you understand him with the long hair and the whole bit, is sitting in one of the tables. Sitting in one of the chairs, I beg your pardon, at the table. And his head is in his hands. So he's just,
Hey, buddy. You okay?
And as he kind of looks up at you, you can see that there are. Oops, sorry, I started echo voicing too fast. You can see that there are bags under his eyes, as if he has not slept for a long time, and you can see he seems not his usual kind of serene self. He says, "I wondered how long it would be before we'd get the chance to talk, Kaz."
If Kaz has any faculty left on his actual body, he goes from this standing meditative pose, and then all of a sudden he just sinks and sits down in the middle of Abraxas's office, as he then sits in the chair in his mind's eye.
And Abraxas is probably watching as this is happening. And by the way, are Sleepwell or Petra, are you doing anything while Kaz is sort of communing, so to speak? I think you're muted, Carlos.
Yeah, I'm trying to position Kaz's body as he starts to slump down so that he can kind of use the slug head as like one of those beanie bag chairs, so he can kind of just like lean into it.
Okay, so squish. He goes on this. Oh
I
man.
was going to
Hey.
say, I just am going to make sure no harm comes to Kaz, but now I'm faced with whether to figure out whether putting him on a slug head.
Right, you're faced with the head, really, and
Yes,
that's.
yeah, or not.
I mean, you can also override Sleepwell and be like, no, like you.
Yeah,
could-
if you pull the captain card, my captain.
Here's my question: is Sleepwell getting slug juices on him? Because if so, I will intervene. Otherwise, I'll let him do what he wants to do.
I mean, I am, of course, wondering in my own mind how long the moisture in a slug head would last. You know, I don't
Probably
know.
Mummified.
I was gonna say it's
Yeah.
probably like sitting on like a foam chair from the 70s, which has long since lost its
Okay,
soft.
then I'm less worried about. I mean, although I am going to say I don't know that I personally would want to come back to consciousness and find myself being rubbed with a desiccated slug. But okay,
I mean, wow.
My next
I
next
thought you
punk
were
band
alive
is
in
the Desiccated
70s.
Slug, by the way.
That's
Just 'cause it's
slug.
Desiccated Slugs.
Oh god.
What's up, Lone Wolf? Hack Sleepwell with slug $/ .exe.
okay. So let me rephrase. I will make sure that nothing worse than
Okay.
getting rubbed with a desiccated slug happens to
Okay.
Kaz.
I think you can do that. So Kaz, when you sort of like sit down on the chair, in the office, you know, so to speak, or in the long winter's sort of plane, what do you do? Yeah.
I sit in the chair opposite him, and then Kaz says, I'm not sure how much of what we've done you've been witness to. What's been going on?
It's more what's been going on outside that matters. And you see, he kind of lifts his hand wearily and he points over. And you see the first time that the room almost feels like you're in one of the you've seen these on old vids probably, like police interrogation rooms, Kaz, where there is a chair and there's a light above you and there's a table, 2 chairs and a table, and then there's this pane of glass which looks almost like a mirror. And you see that the long winter is pointing at that pane of glass and says, out there, at least metaphorically out there, that's all this is. He's been watching the whole time.
Yeah.
Or trying to, anyway.
Are you just... Is he causing this in you, or are you just frustrated?
No. I'm doing what I can to block him.
Oh.
He's sending out feelers, I guess you might say. Tentacles, more like. Messages to various places. None of it's targeted at us specifically, but it needs to be responded to in the right way, and in some cases not responded to at all. If he actually got through, if he actually sent a message, if he actually heard back, he'd pinpoint exactly where you were, and then you know what would happen next. Battling him at a time of our choosing is one thing. Battling him at a time that he wants. And he just sort of shakes his head and... Disaster. So I've been holding him off, let's say, from the crew, from the Hyperlance, and to a lesser extent from you. You can see also that he now has, like, you know, the the 24-hour shadow, right? You know, the beard is like kind of obviously all white, you know, stubble.
Well, for what it's worth, I'm sorry that we put this on you.
You didn't. They did, not you. And then what have you found so far? And you see there's like a mug of what looks like maybe half-drunk coffee, like by him, and he kind of drinks some, and then... What have you found so far,
Well,
Cos?
did you just see what we just saw?
And he sort of... I wasn't totally paying attention.
I was. Don't worry. We are now privy, apparently, to the manifesto of the creators of the Long Winter, who
He
kept
perks
talking
up, by
about-
the way. Like,
who kept talking about how they don't understand. There are people that don't understand the process and cost of evolution, that these people want to speed them up, move things faster. Stormdark wants to perfect something new that could bring together the disparate factions of the universe under their banner. They work with the Shadow Technocracy. They also talked about the Seasonal Change Project, or SCP, and how the Long Winter is apparently the first of several seasons that will sink the universe under the time of the Shadow Technocracy, in a way.
so he takes all that in, and he nods slowly, and he says, "Seasonal change."
Yep.
That sounds like him. Kaz, I don't know what the Shadow Technocracy thinks it's doing, or how much control it has, but it doesn't. This sounds like him. It sounds like what
Baladin.
he wants to do. No, not Baladin. I mean, yes, but
Oh.
Baladin thinks he's in control here. But I don't think he is. I think he's, without realizing it maybe, following the orders of a... And he kind of looks over at the pane of glass. Higher power, probably.
So, it's almost like Stormdark designed you to be for their own use of unifying the universe under this seasonal change banner, whatever, this doctrine of theirs. But what you're saying is that your other half is actually, the first of the seasons is actually going to stop them there, take control of them, and enact its own point of order.
And he kind of nods wearily and he says, I can promise you that what's left of the Long Winter would not want any other seasons to get in the way. Spring, summer, or fall. He can make them believe what he wants. But I promise you he has no interest in anything but himself finding us and me and letting his vengeance do the rest.
Since you bring that up, what if we were to find the other seasons? Would they be able to help us?
He shrugs and he says, if he's even telling the truth, he might have made those things up. I could see them being red herrings, things to get the technocracy looking at other things while he's, I don't know what, trying to take over, trying to find you. But it's quite possible that if you went looking for these other seasons, you'd find only more versions of himself, traps to lure you. I don't know, but it doesn't smell right to me. He kind of loosens his tie in his semi-noir outfit and takes another sip of his coffee.
Well, right now we're sort of on the run for the 15th time. But we're figuring out what the next step is as far as stopping the long winter. I promise that I'll try to alleviate your distress as soon as I can. But we might have to make some stops along the way.
And he kind of nods slowly and he says, I don't know what else to help you with right now, but there's a name you can track down when you get the time. It's only the name. Laris Baladin likes to make people think that he created the Long Winter Code. But it wasn't him. There was one before him. The source code. Find him. You might be able to find more about these seasons. But you'll have a hard time, Kaz, because other than me, no one believes this person exists.
What's the name?
Mikar Presson. A genius. And now, a phantom. And he kind of slumps down. You can see that he's like, looks just dead exhausted.
Can I do something for you? One of my friends has an inflatable bed. You need a rest of any sort? I mean,
He kind of lifts
how
his
can I
head
help
slightly
you?
and he says, no. Do what you can, and I'll do what I can, and I'll keeping on.
All right. Well, have a good time. Maybe a change of scenery might help. I liked the field better.
He doesn't respond. So when you... then do you pop back out of it then, Kaz?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, what am I sitting on? What is...
Suddenly, Slughead hardens.
I couldn't stop him because
Yeah.
She didn't try.
Okay, well, my memory is all over the place, but I just remembered that the long winter, the bad one, I mean, because the only one left is the bad one, is currently trying to get a hold of us. However, I might have a lead on. I remembered that the season project thing, the idea of there being other seasons, and then I was like, oh yeah, there's this person named Mikar Presson who apparently coded the Long Winter. Everyone thinks he's dead, but if we find him, he might be able to give us more information.
Quick clarification. This apparently maybe the source code that eventually led to the Long Winter, like the stuff on which the Long Winter was built, just so you know.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like it wasn't originally, anyway, so yeah.
The source code. But anyway, back to business.
And Abraxas kind of like, there's this silence and Abraxas like looks around.
It's a Blarite thing.
Right. And he kind of sort of leans back a little bit and he says, "So the question is, what now? No one's going to come from the Bastion looking for you, I would bet. And even if they did, we'd probably be ready by the time they arrived. So it's up to you what you want to do next. I don't know what to tell you about Omric. I'm going to try to see what I can do to track him down. The other problem is I still can't get a hold of Aricia. And I've been trying for the last couple of weeks. Either she's gone back to them, or she's gone deep in cover, or she's not with us anymore."
I'm kind of like looking at him to see if he's affected, you know, in a way that would be unexpected for someone who seemed to be her, you know, bitter rival.
Make an insight check for me, please.
You know, and since I might not get a chance to use it otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and use my inspiration on this.
Okay.
So. Good thing I did.
You're like, you seem in pain.
There we
Wow.
go.
See, that's why you use
That's
inspiration.
a good use of inspiration.
That's the stuff. You do get the sense, Sleepwell, that when he mentions this, not being able to get a hold of her, you do note a little bit of concern, and you don't know whether it's the concern of like a longtime rival who has kind of grudgingly begun to acknowledge the, you know, abilities of this person, right, in this area. But you definitely get the sense that this is someone that he's a little, I don't know if worried's right, but he seems put out or troubled by the fact that he can't get a hold of this person. And remember, as you know, Abraxas is used to being in deep cover and like he's constantly doing this stuff himself, even though he was always on opposite ends. But you do get a little tone of sort of regret, like I haven't been able to find her.
All right. Well, I turned to the rest of the crew and said, like, we should definitely make a plan, but I've got a slug head to sell, and we've got other plans to make.
What? Who do you think's gonna buy this slug head?
And you know, I look at Petra with infinite pity, you know, and I just say, it just when the Cubals are rolling in, I'm buying you a drink.
Just let him have his fun.
Okay. Okay.
All right, Abraxas. We are gonna head out and take some time. But do you know of were you the person that gifted us these things? I popped my chameleon coat and the armor that Petra has and the staffs of the other two members.
And he says, "No, but I know who did." And he kind of has a slight grin.
Oh, I forgot. I don't even remember if we got the name of that person. I think you connected us with them.
I did. He didn't get a name because he didn't give it. He's down in the market.
That's what I thought.
He's one part of the market. Now, technically, since I'm now respectable, and for this one, Sleepo, you don't actually need a check to indicate that he sort of says that with a little bit of a, you know, like respectable. I technically shouldn't be giving anyone access to any of this, but there are some services one must do in the name of commerce, and
Of course.
I think you'll still find him down there. Although if you ever tell anyone that I said so, I'll have you kicked off the station, your security clearance revoked, and you can enjoy wandering through the galaxy as pariahs. He says all that part like deadpan, and then it's kind of like, just kidding, maybe.
Cool. Well, thanks for the directions. I mean, what directions? Let's get going, guys. I'm good to go.
Okay.
He says, just as you're about to leave, he says, by the way, Petra,
Yes.
He says, I wanted you to know I got a blip of a signal the other day. It was very faint, kind of a fragment, but it was a message that mentioned you. It came from the direction of Terra, back at Old Earth. I don't know if I should even mention it because it seemed like just coincidence, but...
Do you have a copy of it? Obviously, you should mention it. If it mentions me, I'd like to know.
He says, well, it misspells your name, and I don't know. I wondered if it was some thing that was assembled somewhere, garbage that just came together in this way. But yes, I saved a copy. And he kind of pulls out this other little chip and basically hands it over to you, and he says, you can look at your own leisure. It's odd, though. I don't know what to make of it. He seems a little, hesitant.
Well, I'm very curious about this, so I'm going to take it and try and figure out why he seems so odded out by it.
Okay. You want to do that, back at the Hyperlance or in
Back
his...
at the Hyperlance.
Okay.
Yeah, I won't stand there examining it.
Let me check this out. Okay. So you're going to go back to the Hyperlance. Sleepwell, are you going down to try to sell this slug head? Is that what we're looking at?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm going to be doing a lot of things, but I also want to help Kaz. The more important thing is I want to help Kaz basically try to find a way to retrofit this thing into a shield.
Okay. Let's start with Petra then. Because... Yeah. Let's do that. So I'm going to jump to... So I'm going to have Petra back at the Hyperlance. Once you're safely in your quarters, which is presumably where you're going, and you can access a terminal, you could then, if you wish, put in this message, if you like.
I would like to.
So there are just a few random fragments of sentences that fill the screen. It says Petra, but it's spelled wrong. It's spelled P-A-H-T-R-A, and then ... and then can't see, and then ... sorry ... not sure when ... find ... and then the last thing that you see here is this word that you're not really familiar with, and it may even be a proper name, which says Primus, P-R-I-M-I-S, and it says find Primus,
Find Primus.
and then ... sorry, and then T-E, and then it cuts off.
God damn you, Tesora. What the fuck is this? All right.
She just forgot where she parked her Prius.
Never go with her.
Yeah, if she can spell her best friend's name wrong, she's just saying find my Prius.
She's not misspelling my name. She's doing it to piss me off. That is exactly what she's doing.
As if everything else she said wasn't enough.
Gonna see if anyone else has heard of Primus and poke around a bit on that. But
Okay. I will come back to that. We'll come back to Primus. I'm going to jump out to Sleepwell and Kaz. What is Aramis, by the way, doing? Is he back in his quarters drinking a smoothie during this time? I'm curious what you have Aramis doing.
He's probably grabbing a smoothie, and then he might have errands that he wants to run, but I'm not sure.
Okay, that's
But
fine.
for now-
I'll cut to him
he's-
at that time.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do a little retcon with
That's
him, I
fine.
think.
That'll be no problem.
He's made a really, really good slug slimed smoothie. Great.
Man, there's so much mileage out of this, which will have more. This or the inflatable mattress. Put them together to a slugtress. All right, so you are now out trying to. So you're trying to retrofit the shield, I would say, before you try to sell the slug head. And yeah, Primus is
both.
Toyota's latest luxury hybrid. Yeah, sorry,
Yeah, just
Cosmo.
whichever opportunity knocks first.
Yeah.
Okay. So, well, right, because now that's the thing, because if you're trying to get them to retrofit, Are you going to get equipment to do that? Are you trying to build it in like some kind of workshop or what? Because that might be a different situation than wandering around the black market and, trying to sell a slug head.
What do
I
you
think what we're
Sleepy?
trying to do is find somebody who could do this work, right?
Yeah, because it would be one thing to, the basics. The basic thing you could do is you could take the platform, make it vertical, and then buy a shield, and then just clamp it. But we want to make it nice, and the technology exists to try to adapt it into some sort of grav deflecting, super armored tank shield. So preferably we're looking for, I guess what I said earlier, a space blacksmith of some sort, a metal worker, or maybe a Saurium engineer, which Sleepwell kind of is, but
Yeah, but you know
different.
what? I did just think of something that probably would be fun role playing. So if we were like having this conversation between us as we're dragging the slughead behind us, that thinking about like who we're going to, I kind of like look at you at a moment and say like, God damn it.
You got that look.
I know exactly who can do this work. Spindra.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Is it time for a reunion, Sleepwell?
I wondered if anyone was going to remember that.
You know what? What if it makes you feel better, why don't you gift her I'm sure she would love the slug head.
I mean, this is a huge, exomorphic cryptid of, priceless value. Like, surely
right,
she
you're
would.
right.
No, I mean, she's not going to want it.
It's What was her? Her ship had the weirdest name. I remember it to this day. Spindra, and her ship, the Plecostomus. What kind of name for a ship is that?
Yeah, isn't that something you get after whooping cough or something?
Yeah, that's a disease you get from this slug.
In fact, this is her mortal enemy, and you will offend her forever.
Right. You were sitting in that slug, by the way. You might want to go see a doctor.
no,
wait,
I
I am a
know.
doctor.
Yeah, my suit, I'm okay. I'm not, doesn't affect me the same way, usually. Well, actually, in the Bellare language, we actually have a different, this is actually one of, not the mortal enemy of Bellare, but we encountered it in kind of this wormhole space, and Bellare are kind of spacey like that, so, yeah.
Polari
bad
definitely are
juju.
spacey, yeah.
Anyway, sure, let's go see Spindra. Didn't her workshop get all? Didn't we wreck her workshop?
Okay.
You did. You did wreck the. Well, I mean, listen, it was.
Yeah.
She had meant
It was
to,
escaping.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Sleepwell, for all of our edification, can you remind what exactly is your beef? Your slug with her?
Spindra tried to make sure that you and I were killed when the space station was exploding. Remember how she was encouraging people to shut the door on us and leave us behind while we wanted to escape? Also, remember how she treated the Finarg and how she had, ended up below? She's terrible people. She's terrible every time we encounter her. She's used us. She has tried to get us killed in multiple ways. Really, we should have just spaced her a long time ago. But maybe we can use her now.
I don't entirely agree
This is a slightly modified version.
with some of that. May I suggest that you let me do the talking?
Oh, please.
Okay.
Because if I get started, I'm not going to stop.
All right. And just imagine how proud Aramis will be to know that you were able to be in the same room as her and be calm and collected.
Wait, now I'm trying to impress Aramis? Who says I want to impress Aramis? He's not like my father figure or something. It's not like I'm using him as a replacement dad
Sleep well.
because of the dad that... What?
Well, by the way, we're talking about where to go next. I think one of the most pressing things, aside from, the end of the universe, is what's going on with your family.
Yeah.
I think that's a good next place to go.
Yeah.
I'm kind of tired of dealing with this long winter stuff. I mean, I feel bad for the guy in my head. You should have seen him. He's seen better days. But
This really worries. It's like,
yeah, yeah, you know things have gone bad mentally when someone's changed a field into a police interrogation room. Not a good sign.
Cause that's your mentality we're talking about. He's changing things inside of you. Do we need to
is
be
that
worried
how it
about your
works?
mind?
I've been worried about my mind ever since he got in there. But hey, have I changed at all? Maybe. I don't know.
I'm just gonna crawl into the slug head and allow myself to be consumed by it.
No, not you too.
This really is getting more and more Farscape all the time, by the way, where it just like went ridiculous weird, like as time just went on. You're just like, what?
So, I say, okay, all right, one thing at a time.
Yep.
Spindra, shield, possibly give her a slug head. Let's go.
Yeah. Let's go. We head to her workshop, at least where it was.
And it turns out that it is apparently in the same spot where it was, although it's been changed quite a bit. You notice that where before reminds you a little bit of being in Abraxas's office, where before Abraxas was kind of like, catch as catch can, trying to be in these cool spots and everything else. You notice that where that was the case before. Now, the things seem to be much more sort of, cleaned up where he is. Well, in her case, when you actually arrive, you can see that there is, in fact, a security guard with the logo, on the uniform, standing outside this place, and there is a new sign up there which says Pel Saros Repair, which you can find nicely, in nice, I don't know, top level modern font for the time, that type of thing. When he sees you, he sort of nods. He's got his helmet on. So they nod and say, "Oh, good to see you. Are you here to see Spindra?"
Yes, actually.
Very good, very good. I'll just need to double check quickly to make sure that we don't have any untoward weapons that we're not supposed to have. I'm sorry, but there have been some incidents inside that office before, and so company policy.
Just tell her that Kaz and Sleepwell are here.
Kaz and Sleepwell. All right, and then you realize that he kind of like looks up. He was sort of just repeating these by rote. Then he looks up and is, yes, certainly, yes. I'll like as if he finally is like, oh, it's the heroes of Pelsaros, and he's like, oh, okay, and he goes in, and then comes back out and he says, oh yes, she's happy to see you, of course. Please go right in.
In we go.
Yeah.
So when you go in there, sorry, I'm just answering something in chat very quickly.
Yeah. Well, at this point, you could just tell them.
Okay. Yeah, I went through a whole bunch of stuff with it, though, Dragon. I'll talk to you about it later off air. When you go in there, you can see that the place, which used to be just a sort of mess of parts and everything else, now looks very, very different. There are shelves. Everything is super well organized. You can see that the room itself has been completely cleaned up. Everything looks, just nice, just very, very refined. Basically not refined, but I mean, it's a nice organized garage as opposed to whatever the hell was in there before. And as you go over as you sort of walk in and then go over, you can see that she's standing speaking to what looks like a Promethean. And the Promethean's kind of looking at one of the shelves, kind of frowning, and you see Spindra saying, "And that's the point. If you're going to keep it with this one part, who knows what's going to happen? But if you're able to work with me on this part, perhaps I can change it into something different. I think maybe all we need to do is figure out a way to clear out some of the scoring, the carbon scoring inside, and you'll get something perfect when you need to get into, break into drive. So I think, and then she sees you, he's like, oh, yes. And she looks over both of you and, Kaz, sleep well? She looks a little uncomfortable when she says hi to you, sleep well, and then, all right, anyway, sir, what do you think? And the Promethean kind of, maybe. I'll come back tomorrow morning and let you know. All right, make sure you do that. And pleasure as always. And he kind of nods and then departs. And as the door closes behind him, she sort of looks at both of you. Well, you've made it back. I heard a rumor that you had gone to tear up some other part of the galaxy. I'm glad to see both of you back in one piece. Truly. I am sorry that... And then she looks up and... Oh. And she sees the slughead. And she says... Is a friend of yours? Maybe?
I can't remember what the damn thing is called, but it's like this rare exo beast. Like what? It's like super space.
Oh yes.
Like it's a ship-eating thing, right?
It is, and you all fought it actually in the
I'll find it in
might be Voices
10
Beyond
seconds.
the Veil. That's what it is. Yep.
It's called a Vorkata,
That's right.
and the Belare word for it was a Vingor. And it
Yep.
sucks the energy from ships.
So
There it is.
yeah, I
So,
tilt my
yes.
head back. It's like,
Yep.
Vorkata head.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. Vorkata. The Vorkata, or from Bellara, that's right. And she says, Vorkata.
Don't do that, Brian.
I've heard Vorkata before, but I've never really seen one this close. That thing looks like it was a lot of fun to deal with.
Yeah, it attacked our ship when we were coming to help you initially, when you initially tricked us, and we then got
Anyway,
attacked by
Spindra,
this.
it's great to see you. I hope it's.
You could see she was starting to like
well.
fold her arms. And then when you start talking,
It's good to see that you're doing well. We have a special request, and I actually gesture to move the disc forward, and I
okay,
say,
it does.
it's not just this slug. This is just for presentational purposes, I think. But we were trying to see about turning this disc platform, this anti-grav disc, which may or may not look familiar to you, but don't say if it is, into a shield of some sort, while retaining its grav properties, perhaps, maybe as a way to deflect weapons. You feel what I'm thinking?
So she kind of looks and says, "Turn it into a shield. Is it just an anti-grav platform?
Yeah, I mean, it's nice.
Can I see it? I mean, without the slug head?"
Sleep well.
Fine. Roll that slug head off of it.
It lands with a kind of a crack on the ground. I just had this image of it being like, those things when you're a kid, you play with these little sponge things in capsules. You put them in water, and then and they're the most disgusting, like slimy when they like, ugh. That's what this. So but dried. It's just
or the one really ugly fish that's all like saggy and that's been pulled out of water.
Yeah. Or that, or a circus peanut. You know what I'm saying? Like none of it's good. Like it's all just like.
Yeah.
Ugh. Anyway, so I meant of course the candy for chat that doesn't know what I'm talking about. So she takes a look around and she kind of looks at it upward, top and bottom and underneath, and then she kind of touches the disc, and this thing is made of sorium. Infused with it anyway. Kind of looks up and down and sort of turns around back to you, and this is a pretty incredible thing. I might be able to turn it into a shield. It's possible, but the thing about it is, it's delicate right now. You hit this thing the wrong way, you're going to throw it out of balance. If you want it to have the same effect that it has now, you got to figure out a way to isolate it and armor it.
Maybe if it was the interior of the shield, if there was armor on and maybe sorium reactive metal on both sides or something.
And she nods. She says, "That's it. But you're not going to be able to find this just anywhere. That's the trick. You need to find some kind of sorium-infused durasteel, but it's not easy to find. There are several places, supposedly out in the Silrain Arc, where people work with it, but it's not technically legal because it uses a lot of sorium and because the use of it is not regulated. So as a result, people end up with this. I don't know where you got this from to begin with, but I'm guessing it wasn't a legal store."
Not a store, nope.
And she says, "But if you could get some sorium-infused durasteel, you bring that to me, I could turn this into a hell of a repulsion shield. It would take a hit, and it might even make it hard for someone to get too close if you didn't want them to."
Okay. So just it's illegal, the material.
Oh, yes.
I
She
think
nods,
we're
like-
good then. Okay. Well,
Completely illegal, and I know that some of you, her eyes flicker over to you, Sleepwell, don't like people being on the other side of the law. You know, making decisions for survival, that kind of thing.
Oh man, I think I need to go talk to like 40 of my Fenarg friends.
Go ahead and do that. They'll tell you that I've been working with them. They were one of the ones who helped me with this place.
Kaz is just
Right.
So I think it's like, okay, well, we have the information we need. I grab my humongous, slug head and kind of just hoist it up like this. Like, we'll be going now. Bye, Spindra. Head out.
And put it on. Now, are you leaving the platform for her to work with, or are you going to take it with you and bring it back when you get this durasteel thing, or what?
the latter. I think we'll take the platform
Okay.
with us.
All right. While you are off heading back, in the meantime, Petra...
I am
sorry.
also looking
Victor.
for somebody to buy this thing. So, like, we're...
To buy the slug head.
I
Yeah,
think for the
just-
future, our next destination would probably be the black market that Abraxas mentioned.
Okay, that's what I figured,
We're
and I think we
finding
will...
that guy.
We're going to start with Aramis, but then move on to you in the black market. But just before we leave this behind, I do want to mention that in the meantime, while this is going on, Petra, you've been doing a little bit more research into this, this Primus thing. Do you want to tell me where you're doing the searching? Like, I don't necessarily mean just online. Like, are you calling in contacts, trying to ask Abraxas or Rona, or like, are there other...
Well, I certainly will ask everyone, like Abraxas and Rona and the various sort of NPCs that are on our ship. I will also poke around sort of online. I will make contact with people that we've had sort of fleeting contact with and just be like, hey, I've run into this reference to Primus. I'm trying to find out about it. So if someone is monitoring Primus, they know that I'm asking about it.
I am going to then ask you to make... I am going to ask you to make an investigation check, I think.
Are you sure you don't want insight?
No,
Insight's
if
a
someone
much higher
contacts you,
roll,
you'd then
so
be happy to use insight at that point.
Just not backseat driving. Just say an insight investigation. Both start with same.
Also don't want you to
well,
make an
doesn't
attack
matter.
with your
23.
hammer. I also don't want you to do that. You're like,
You do want me to make an attack?
as I
with
said,
it?
yeah, no, do not. So
Okay,
Just
okay.
flash to Petra trying to search a database by just smacking
it's like,
computers.
why
like
won't
Kylo
you
Ren.
work? So Yeah, you basically.
I hate terms.
Now, I do have to say that I believe, I think, did both of you use your inspirations? I think your inspirations are all used up now. Yes, I
I think
believe,
Kaz might have one actually.
I think I might be the
I
only
think
one
Kaz
with
has
one left.
because it's going to be used up at the end of the month anyway. Kaz, I don't know if you want. You're allowed to inspire your
Oh.
fellow teammates, so
Oh, okay. Yeah,
you just
I'll
can't
confer.
inspire yourself.
We don't need it.
I can confer an inspiration that was given to me to.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I was thinking about it the other way. No. Sorry, I take that back.
Okay.
I was thinking of it as like an inspiration that you had available because of. Yeah, never mind. Sorry, my fault.
Okay.
So in that case, so Petra, as you're sort of looking at this, yeah, those are the people that are left who have it. So, as you're looking at this, you run through things and you keep running into, like, I guess the way to describe it, the sort of modern out-of-game way to describe it would be doing a Google search and coming up with sort of like documents that lead to just 404, file not found website type places. And then you have found a bunch of results very similar to that one. It feels like, first of all, this is a very old name that you're trying to track down. I don't mean old like ancient, like hundreds of years, but I mean definitely not from the last year or two. And the information that you're gathering doesn't seem to make a lot of sense, except that there are references a couple times to Primus, but then it's not clear what that is. You think, though, it's pretty likely that it is indeed a proper name, probably more than a definition. You think it's pretty likely that it's a person of some kind.
Well, I will keep poking. I will ask my crewmates. None of you have heard. I will go ask our intrepid slughead conveyor. Sleepwell, have you ever run into some Primus?
And I don't know if that would be like a lore check or something.
Yeah, go ahead and make a lore check.
I will do this to each of the.
Okay. Wow.
Critical
Whoa.
success. I've heard the hell out of this. Yeah.
I know him. He's.
Come on.
I was
My
him.
uncle.
Like, I changed my name. My name
Prius,
was.
yeah.
Yes, my name was Primus Sleepwell, and
I am
I am Spartacus.
not
so,
Prius.
so yeah, not Prius, definitely not that. He says. So yeah, I would say that you have definitely heard this name before, Sleepwell, specifically in certain scientific circles. And as you go through, there's actually a little database, essentially that you keep as like notes, more or less, of different scientists that you know about, that you've made contact with, who are involved with sort of different things. And this name has indeed come up for you before. This name has come up in the past. But as you look, you don't have a lot of information about this person, except that it is indeed a scientist. But you do know two things about him which you can relate, if you wish, to Petra. The first is that it is a Dendusi. The second is that his last name was Marakle.
Okay. So I will clearly, relay this quickly. So, I mean, we could just search for Primus Marakle, I guess, and, put some feelers out from there. That's more than you had before.
Because the other information, of course, Sleepwell, which you give to Petra for her to ponder, is that he had a sister, and her name was Tezora. And that is where we will bring our session to a close for this evening.
Oh!
So, haha, the
Find
Prius
the
works
brother.
again.
Find your brother.
Good stuff today, folks. Good stuff. Some interesting stuff. A lot of things, balls being in the air, being juggled now, and a slug head as well, being juggled. That's going to lead to some interesting things down the line. Just to be clear for everybody, we will start with our next session with, as I said, Aramis, like doing a couple of retcon things about stuff that wasn't happening, and then we will cut to Sleepwell and Kaz with their Black Market from Boston, Black Market trip, and then we will cut over to Petra, sort of being like, WTF, sort of pondering what all of that might theoretically mean. I will start, as always, with the gentleman all the way to the right. Zach, great stuff today from Kaz. I enjoyed, as always, the sections being played with the long winter in your head, zombie. I enjoyed those sections, as always. And and I thought and I was also having fun. I loved your cutting in and being like, anyway, Spindra, it's great to see you. Like, it was really, really funny. How'd you feel about today? Where will the lovely folks see you next?
I felt it's always good to disappear into the consistent star campaign of Esper Genesis, and the crazy fun times that our crew gets into. We still don't have I guess Esper crew, or the Hyper Lancers would be our name, but I'm what's the word? Anxious to get these little side things done, and to at least for the moment not be fleeing from a universe-ending threat for a while. So we made it out of that one. That was pretty good, and I'm feeling pretty good about it. The fine people on the internet will find me on this channel for more Esper Genesis next month, I'm assuming, and as well as the our vocalist Christmas Carol special.
Special
which
next
is always
month.
very fun.
Yeah.
And on my own channel as well, where I'll be streaming soon, and my YouTube channel, just search up Zac Clay anywhere. You'll find things that I've done. And it's been a great time. Thank you, and may the slug be with you.
May the slug be with you. Thank you, my friend. Always a pleasure. Good stuff, Zach, as always. Also, always a pleasure to have Carlos with us, who I did not really think that we would combine the anti-grav platform with the slug head into an ongoing gag. I was not expecting that we'd be talking about the consistency of slugs or the like. But it was interesting to see that, and of course the Spindra dislike is well earned, obviously, Sleepwell, and so it was I should say Carlos playing Sleepwell, and so it was interesting to kind of see that all get played out for him at the same time that you were dealing with kind of some paranoia, and then other things that feel like, and some things which sort of confirm aspects of your paranoia, but not entirely, and all that. So it was fun to see you working through all of that with Sleepwell. How'd you feel about today? Where will the lovely folks see you next?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. We covered a lot of ground, just a lot of parsecs, so to speak. But we just ended up doing a lot of just sort of like groundwork and stuff. And so, what I'm hoping is that we're going to level up very soon, and we're going to be able to use this time to, charge up and be able to, build our characters even further for greater adventures that await us still. But if we don't, at least I still have my slug head. Now, that actually came from Arundel, who reminded me that it was, packed away there, and he was lamenting the fact that then we got the Alfred, our shiny new thing, and so that was the time to pull it out of the story. So it was pure fan service. That's what that was.
You give them what they want. You give them what
exactly,
they want.
But tons of fun. I really love the role playing stuff. And so that's mostly why I'm here. I really love it. So yeah, loved it. I am part of the Latinx Kid Lit Book Festival that's coming up on December 8th, I believe. And I'll probably be doing some other stuff. My calendar has been really ridiculous, and I've just been doing a lot of events. So if you just follow me at Write Teach Play, you can always find sort of like what events and things I am doing. I also just want to say, apropos of almost nothing, but just since we're all role players here, I bought recently the role-playing game, the solo role-playing game, 1,000-Year-Old Vampire.
I saw you mention that on Twitter, yeah.
It's great. Like, it's really exquisite. If you have, even not that many role-playing aspirations, but just like as a writer, but also if you're a role player, it's really fine. It's really well done. So highly, highly, highly recommend it.
That is good to know. I am going to, I saw you mention that on Twitter, and I was going to make a note to check it out. And 1,000-Year-Old Vampire. I need to remember to check that out later on.
I bought the PDF on it on itch, and it was so good that I went ahead and sprung for the rule book because one of the things is it won Ennies for its art design for the book. It's its graphic design as well, but it's fine rule making, and I've never really done a solo RPG that I felt good about until now. So,
ooh, and it's available now. This is that extra. It is available at Adventure Game Store, and I think I may know the person who runs AdventureGameStore.com, and you should get it from there if you want it, because that is the store which is run by Brian Dalrymple, also known as Alligator Alley _ Brian. So you should do that. You should definitely order it from there if you like it. That'd be pretty cool.
Dang, I didn't even think to do that, but I might be buying a few presents, so now I'll know to do that.
Yeah, that's cool. But yeah, that's pretty neat. You heard great reviews about it, Miranda. A live stream of that would be pretty cool. That's true. There probably hasn't been.
Yeah, live stream would be tough because there is some time for thinking and writing. But I could imagine a YouTube video that would be really great.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting stuff though. Yeah, I'll have to see how that goes. Thank you though, Carlos. Interesting stuff today, and yeah, I look forward to seeing more. I am going to make one note after I let Kat do her little outro. Then I want to talk just very briefly about something about the combat that you just reminded me, or the lack of. There it is. So, there we go. Yeah, thanks, Rudinell, for the link. But thank you, Carlos. Always a pleasure. And also a pleasure, as always, to have Kat with us. Kat, Petra got a chance to do a few things here. We got some, area covered of Tezora to a certain degree. Still figuring out what's going on with the sort of AI in general, and how that ties in. And these threads are out there that are maybe gradually starting to coalesce a little bit. And it was fun sort of seeing Petra navigate that, and also the sort of general bemusement whenever dealing with Sleepwell and Kaz and the rest of the crew, with like, why is there a slug head on a platform? It's like that type of thing. So how'd you feel about today? Where will the lovely folks find you next?
I am really looking forward to the scenario when we reveal the slug head to Johnny. I can't even begin to say how much I'm looking forward to that particular bit of play. This was a really fun day. We always have a lot of fun, and I always enjoy it. No combat whatsoever, which I think is often the sign of a good game. We're just having a good time. Oh, and where can you find me? I will mention that because it is /Black Friday, Cyber Monday, my school is running a special deal on classes. So if you want to find me, go look at my classes and then contact me. I guess that really doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Go check out my classes. Otherwise, go follow me on Twitter and talk nonsense at you. That's about it.
That's good stuff. Thank you, Kat. It's always a pleasure. And absolutely, people should know, having seen some of Kat's work before in doing a few of these classes on our channel here, that they are well worth it. So definitely stop by and give Kat, who's a wonderful writer, your support. Other than that, I just want to quickly say, first of all, that you will see Johnnie Pittman back with us next month as well, playing Aramis. He was not face tanked today, so that's good. So there'll just be some things to reveal. I actually am looking forward to seeing Johnny's reaction to, okay, so there's a slug head on a platform. It's going to be good. I can already see some of what's happening there. Last thing I just want to mention very quickly before I let the players go is just because it was brought up again by Cat 2 is about this combat. I was mentioning during the green room that there was this Twitter thing that I noted that was basically talking about some other silliness going on with message boarding in D&D. But one of the things that came up about it was this continued zombie lie that won't die, that D&D is just all about combat all the time and that's all it does. And this is just factually wrong. I'm not just going to use my own example. I can use multiple examples as to why that's not true, that's all it does. But I think, again, another note of that was this is a game, Esper Genesis, which is, of course, is foundationally the 5e rule set, right? And this was another example today where you were able to have a not only functional but an excellent role play session with people role playing all sorts of things, and not a gun was fired or a hammer swung in anger during the course of the session, because it's not always necessary. It depends on what the demands are, call for, and what is needed within that game. So really, this idea that somehow D&D just makes you want to fight stuff, certainly there is a component of gaming, of D&D gaming, which does that, including its foundations from Chainmail, a war game. It's not obligated to do that, and this game, Esper Genesis, is not obligated to do it either. So I just wanted to point out that you got to see 3 excellent players today doing lots of role-playing and lots of stuff that isn't about shoot everything and kill everything that moves. We've definitely had combat sessions. We've also had a lot of sessions that are not about combat, but are about other things that don't involve combat in the least. So it's about the players and the GM and about the campaign and the adventure, and it's not about this is automatically this because that's what I see on the internet. So I just wanted to mention that. It doesn't always have to be combat, and that was proven today. Otherwise, I was happy to be joined by a wonderful crew that is doing, I certainly think, the best science fiction role-playing that I've seen on Twitch right now. I think that's fair to say. It's a really great crew with great chemistry, and I am very honored and lucky to be able to GM them. So I enjoyed it very much, and I want to wish them all a happy Thanksgiving again, and have chat say, give all their love and support and all that fine stuff for these folks who I will see next month in various capacities. Thank you as always to Cat Rambo. Thank you as always to Carlos Hernandez. Thank you as always to Zac Clay, and of course Johnnie Pittman, who will join us next month. Thank you, everyone. Great job, players, and I will see you folks very soon down the line.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you so much, man.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
And thank you, chat.
Thank you, Greg, and thank you, chat.
May the slug be with you.
May the slug be with you.
Yeah, it doesn't always have to be a slugfest.
God,
and that is that's good stuff. So that is going to do it for me for today. That was great, actually. We had a good time, and I think there was good progress being made. This is going to move into a little bit more of an open for a while, open feeling campaign, I guess might be the way that I would describe it, where there's going to be folks moving. They're going to get a chance to do a lot more, I guess I would say, in terms of their own decision-making process. Not that they're being forced into anything at any point along the line, but it's going to feel, I think, a lot more like, as I said, Firefly, a little bit of exploration going on within this, and I'm looking forward to that. And of course there is the threats that are still floating there around in the background, and that is going to continue as well, and they will deal with those over time. But as they're making progress through space, they're also going to have to make decisions about how they will conduct themselves in their time, and they've got both allies and enemies, and it's very well suited for what it is that lies ahead. That, however, is going to do it for me for tonight. Tomorrow, remember, I'm going to be back here somewhere between 7 and 8 p.m. Eastern with the Dragon Quest XI, which is the Patreon-fueled chat-chosen game of the month. That'll be the last time that I will personally be streaming this month. Then Sunday we will have off, and then on Monday we will have Emberwind, which will wrap up the month of November, and then we will move into what is going to be a generally more chill December, I think I would say, although there are going to be big highlights like the Christmas Carol thing by the Our Vocalists, like the end of the year Game of the Year show, like the during Christmas time family stream, which we do every year, which is always a lot of fun, with Little Arvin, Mini Arvin, Mrs. Arvin, myself. We're going to be doing all of that, so it's going to be great, and I'm super excited for that, and also for just being a little more chill with stuff. We will have, for example, the Session 0 / Postmortem of Curse of Strahd during the month of December. We will have 1 or 2 Esper Genesis sessions, 1 or 2 Adventures of Middle-earth sessions, and stuff like that. So there will be little, like bits and bobs here. We will have D&D with GOG, Storm King's Thunder. So we'll get stuff in, but it's just going to be a little bit less. We're not building up to any particular fundraiser or any like big thing that's happening like ArvCon or anything like that for a while. The next time we have a big thing happening, of course, besides the Our Vocalist thing, is going to be in February, when we come around with the Kickstarter for Greyshade. which is going to be a big deal both for me personally and for the stuff that I'm doing and a lot of the people who are involved in this project, but also for the channel as well, because it's going to have connections to that too. We will definitely have Soundclash the Clampdown, which is going to have that new intro video coming up pretty soon. We will definitely have more of Speculate's Blades in the Dark campaign as well, with Brandon O'Brien there also. So a lot of stuff that we're going to have going on. It's going to be great. So poor Emberwind. Yeah, they'll be like, there's a few, but I hope they don't get into too much trouble because, listen, they knew what they were getting into when they saw how much was happening this month. So, but that is going to do it for me for today, and I had a great time, and I hope you folks enjoyed yourselves as well. I do want to thank, as always, Alligator Alley for sponsoring us on this campaign, and remind you to support Alligator Alley in the Adventure Game Store. I just heard again that the bindery, that the books should be coming out of the printer shortly, fairly soon, and should be heading out to be shipped, basically, or in the way process of moving towards shipment. And that's going to be great because I'm so excited for Tales and Tomes from the Forbidden Library coming from the amazing Alligator Alley and Brian and company. So, I'm just extremely pleased with all the way that that's been, with the way that the PDF came out, and I'm super excited for the physical book, as I know Brian and the rest of the crew is there too. So I'm excited about all of that. If you like what you saw and heard, please make sure to follow the channel. Check out the YouTube channel with !ArvTube, the Discord with !ArvCord, Twitter with !ArvTweets. You can find my website at arvineleron.com. On the financial side, you can always support us by checking out the shop, !ArvShop. The merchandise area is !ArvShop. That's Adventures in Middle-earth stuff. That is Infinity and Beyond stuff. And then soon we're going to be having, I hope, Esper Genesis material about that as well, although I've got to talk more with the Alligator Alley folks about getting that done, but to be able to bring people so they can get more Esper Genesis type stuff, which is currently in the laundry. That, by the way, is why I'm wearing the awesome Star Trek shirt, in case anyone is curious. But that's what we've got going on for that. !Arvtreon is the Patreon. That is the website that supports us. That currently is $240 per month, 22 patrons. That's probably around $195 or $200 after fees that I get, but there's cool stuff you can get for yourself, also cool stuff that you can get for the channel, and all of that really makes a difference, so I hope you'll consider supporting us over there. I also hope you will consider supporting us by subbing to the channel as well, which gets you those custom sub badges and emotes to use here, there, and everywhere across Twitch, and allows you to get inspirations to help the players, and that is always a good thing as well. Finally, on the publishing side, Icarus is my Icarus graphic novel, just out from Athos Arts. Again, the reviews are coming in and are pretty positive. We're very excited about that, and we really want to spread the word about this, so we're hoping that we will get more information, reviews, blurbs, and of course, spreading the word about it out there so we can start getting into more retail markets. Very excited about Icarus and its future. That is, again, Icarus. Library is that aforementioned Tales and Tomes from the Forbidden Library. What's up, Coven Guy? Tales and Tomes from the Forbidden Library, which, again, is the amazingly put together by the crew at Alligator Alley of my adventure and source book with many contributions from across the industry. Again, coming out in print very soon. And Gray Shade KS is the Kickstarter details for my Gray Shade Kickstarter, which is coming out in early February. More details about that to come. Last, of course, BLM, Black Lives Matter, because they do, and it is important to continually affirm and assert that they do. Many resources available over there for you to help in that regard. And the same thing with Help Now, which will give you details from the World Health Organization about suicide prevention. Very, very important that we be doing that also. If you are feeling deeply down, please reach out to someone for help. And if you know of someone who is feeling down that you can contact, please reach out to them as well. It's about contact and communication and getting folks the help that they need. So please make sure to do that, especially during a holiday season, which can sometimes be difficult for folks. Holidays can be wonderful, but they can also be rough, and especially in the time of the pandemic that we're dealing with right now, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, but man, it's been pretty dark here for some time, and so we have to go through it for a little while longer. So the time is exactly during these particular holidays. So please reach out to people if you can. We are going to do a raid. Raids are very simple here, and they are conducted like this. If you are not a sub, you are going to do this. The Arvanauts have landed, followed by Twitch raid, lowercase Twitch, uppercase R, lowercase A-R-D. If you are a sub, you're going to do this, which is not that. You're going to do this, which is the Arvanauts have landed, and then you've got Arvany Hype, you've got Twitch Raid, you've got Arvany Roar, you've got Arvany Woe you can put in there, Arvany Smug, Arvany Love, Arvany Witch, Arvany what. You can do all those things because we love to see those emotes out there when you are brought over automagically to the channel that we are going to raid today. And I think there's a few different possibilities here. Yeah, I think I know who we're going to raid. Yes. So that's the deal. I want to thank everyone who is here. Remind you all I will be back on Saturday with somewhere between 7 and 8 p.m. Eastern with Dragon Quest XI. Thank you to my wonderful mods, Rudenel, Dragonspear, Triffity Metz, and Coven Guy, who just came. Thank you for all of those lovely people. Thank you to all my wonderful subscribers, Rudenel, Dragonspear, Triffity Metz, Coven Guy, Nonstop, Cat Rambo, Lone Wolf, Mrs. Dunsel, Wenchkin, and Zac Clay. Thank you all so much. Thank you as well to my Patreon supporters in that group. Thank you to my wonderful viewers, Ali Brian, Commander Root, T. William, who I think was a bot, but okay, Iliara, Lurks, definitely a bot, Ramir, Sorelu, good to see you, Ramir, Sorelu, Tauntoms, U. Christensen, Uncle Elias, as always, VNK, and Virgo Praz. And most thanks of all tonight, not only to my wonderful viewers, but to the wonderful players, Johnnie Pittman, who wasn't here, but we'll have him back next month, and he's awesome, Cat Rambo, Carlos Hernandez, and Zac Clay. Great stuff from all of them. Thank you as well, finally, to Alligator Alley for the sponsorship, and I will see all of you lovely people on Saturday evening for the raid. You're going to see you right now for the raid, but I'm going to see you on Saturday evening for the game. Until I do that, everyone be good to each other, and I'll catch you all soon. Everyone have a good night. Bye for now.
When I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I grew older, I set aside childish ways. Corinthians 13:11. In the distant future, mankind has spread into the stars and found it is not alone. Within the cluster of planets known as the Silrain Heart, many races strive for survival or supremacy. But throughout this array of planets, societies, and cultures, each has one thing in common. The Crucibles. Scattered throughout the galaxy, each moon-sized structure contains a core of raw sorin, a form of mysterious energy used to power ships, cities, and sometimes the warping of the fabric of reality itself. Beings who can do this have been given a name: Espers. The power of God has been granted to God's children. It is a time of terror. It is a time of wonder. It is the time of Esper Genesis.